Okay, street talk time then. It's time to talk about this week's. Another good week on Coronation Street. I don't know what's going on. Some people are saying that this is the influence of Kate Brooks shining through. I've seen posts on various places saying, ooh, is this a new direction, new producer? Have you seen some of those?
Yeah, well, I've been saying it myself, really.
I think it's very difficult to make snap decisions about anything like that.
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's a bad thing to be happy and celebrating something that you think's positive. The only thing I can think of that, maybe you might hype something up too much. But I'm not going to condemn positivity about Coronation Street for bloody once.
No, not this year. I just think it's could be a little bit too previous to say, oh, well, this is clearly a new producer. Look at the big changes she's made. Thank goodness Ian McLeod is gone. Because it could just
He's
be...
still there.
I know he is still there. It could just be that it's been a particularly good week. I would say what I've enjoyed most about Corrie these last few weeks is the mix of characters that we've had. I think that's really, really been helpful to have less of the police stuff. And I know we've still had Kit hanging around a little bit, but it's been nice that we've not had... I've just enjoyed the break from Dee-Dee. Not that I've got a problem with Dee-Dee, but she has dominated this year, hasn't she? And there hasn't been as much... of the Carla and Lisa stuff, which again I don't have a problem with. It just felt like we were getting a lot of it, whereas we hadn't had and haven't had for a very long time a whole lot of Platt story. Yet we're getting. I mean, it seems like so much of this week has spun off from various members of that household, doesn't it? So yep. I think that's been really positive to me. But there has been the odd kind of mystery that's been kind of thrown at us, like. What are the Deerings up to? What's happened to Shona?
Oh dear, like that.
Exactly.
I've got a confession to make. I deleted a tweet this week.
Yeah, did you?
To hide my shame.
Why?
Because I posted. Luckily, it seemed like not many people saw it. I didn't get any likes, so it was okay. I posted a picture of Gus and
Anthea. Yes. I call her Anthea Turner because she's turned into a right evil
French.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I posted a picture going, "We did you wrong, Gus." I can't believe it.
We did suspect him at one time,
he is a wrong un.
He is a wrong un. Yeah.
After all that, I was ready to forgive him and move on with my life.
Not a murdering.
I don't hold grudges against fictional characters who haven't done anything wrong to me. So that I just made up something that they did. I'm going to have to go back on what I said, and I think that he's evil.
As I was saying,
Terrible.
I have liked the characters, I've liked the mysteries, and there's even, and as much as it's made the note-taking a little bit on the tricky side, just the interweaving of characters has felt a little bit more natural, hasn't it?
Well, for example, Friday's episode, Friday the 13th of December, there were lots of scenes where it was woven into discussions between people that they were going to Gail's hen do, which I thought was good, because a lot of the time on Corrie it feels like there's no time for anything except plot. Like two characters would just go plot to each other and then end a scene.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it was like there's no real reason why Bethany is telling Daniel that she's going to the hen party later. I know it sounds silly, but it just felt like a lot of... It's just little
touches like that make a difference. I mean, it would have been better. I still thought that
like the hen... people then.
I thought that the hen do was a little on the lacklustre side. I mean, did they really need... Did they need to go out to... Well, as Eileen pointed out...
How many do you need?
Did they need to go out to the pub for it when they didn't actually... Did anybody go to that hen do that wasn't a member of the family? I mean... I know they couldn't have dug up Alma and stuck her on a seat, but they could have knocked on next door and asked Sally to come round at least, couldn't they?
But listen, do you remember when I said you couldn't understand something to do with why somebody would be so attached to their baby? And I said, imagine if it was a cat.
Oh, yes, yeah, of course.
Right, and that helped you get insight to someone else's brain.
Into parenthood.
I'm going to give you another comparison here. Imagine if it wasn't a pub, but it was Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
See, that would make sense to you. Why would you go out? Because you're going to Starbucks. You can have a nice drink.
Okay, I get that.
You would like to go for a celebration with me you and Abby.
Yes.
At
Right.
Starbucks. You wouldn't say, oh, why do we have to go out?
Could just
we
stay
can stay at
home.
home and have Starbucks.
That's
we can't,
true.
can we?
We haven't had a Starbucks for a few weeks,
I
have
need
we?
an
It's Red
eggnog
Cup
latte.
season.
Eggnog latte. I live for eggnog latte.
As I say, the guest list did leave a little bit to be desired, but yeah, it was a solid week. I thought that today's episode wasn't as good as the last two. You really enjoyed today's anyway, didn't you? But
well, I gave it a low banging.
yes, a low banging fruit. But yeah, compared to how it has been last year, I really hope, and I'm just being a bit cautious by saying, well, you can't just put this all down to the new producer.
Wood, aren't you?
But yeah, I am exactly. I really hope that this is the kind of feel that Kate Brooks likes for Coronation Street, because it's just a slight change, and they've still got, we had the stuff today with Mason and Dylan, which felt very tacked on, didn't it? But yeah, it's getting its groove back a little bit, and I hope it keeps it all the way up to Christmas. The one thing I would say against this week is we didn't get any of the Leanne, Nick and Toya story, did we? That's a big boo and thumbs down in my book. But the fact that I still enjoyed it despite that, well, there we go.
What were you saying about the Dylan and Mason thing being tacked on is really interesting, because we've been complaining quite a lot about the new characters like monopolising the screen time, and everything's about people that have only been in it for 3 years, and you've got a cast, some of whom have been in the show for like 50, 30. Yeah. What the average is, I've got no idea, but it's fairly high. So, but it's interesting that those two are fairly new, and I mean Dylan, I'm not going to really count him as
he's
as
been
an
in
older
it 20 years,
character, because the actors are fairly new.
Well, he's been playing Liam for a long time as well, but he had a while off screen, hasn't he? He's been down south.
It's interesting that felt tacked on, whereas usually it would be the heritage characters who felt tacked on in a show about Lauren and...
Yeah, you're right, actually.
And
you're
Dee-Dee.
right. I suppose it means that it's just building up for next week. Dylan and Mason are going to take centre stage a little bit, which...
And I just want to also be really fair, like, point out that... I don't just criticise people based on the amount of time that they've been in it, because I think that's unfair, because we know that there's some big names that came out the gate brilliant. Like, I think Becky was only in it for 3 years in total.
Was she really?
She's not been in it. Well, there were definitely characters that like have not been in it for as long as you think they were.
Becky was in it 6 or 7 years.
Really? Somebody was. Somebody really big was in it. It wasn't Raquel. But anyway,
Raquel wasn't in it too long.
But anyway, so that's not the problem. It's the sheer number of them who are all new at the same time. That's the problem, and that really isn't fair on any of them, because you start noticing it more.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, look, let's lay out the table with what we're going to be chatting about this evening. I've got a few new storyline titles to try out on you, Gemma. You've heard a few of these already, but not all of them. So we are going to be starting off with the Kit and Run story.
Kit and Run, I like it.
There we go. So Shona getting hit by the car, Daisy, Daniel, action on Monday, and then Officer Kit investigating it, but also doing a bit of evidence deletion, which he does seem quite wants to do. Next up, we have got the story about, it's a variety of things, really. It's kind of everything that Shona's getting up to with Kit. So the Kit and Run story is just about the car crash, and I suppose it also, I've tied in the Daniel and Bethany stuff in there as well. But then you got the other Shona stuff, which is her having it off with Kit, and I've also included all the Gail things in there as well. This is what I was saying. It was really difficult to separate out into stories this week, but I'm calling that story because Shona's keeping a secret. Show, don't tell. That'll get a good laugh for you. And this is my storyline title for Gail going off to France.
Yeah.
Right. What's French for takeaway?
Hang on.
Do you know this one?
I do. Oh, emporter.
Platt à emporter. There we go. That's how I'm on fire.
Platt à emporter.
Platt à emporter.
Because Platt means dish.
Platt
like
means
food,
dish in
like
French.
what?
And what a dish that Gail is for. If Jesse wasn't marrying her, I'd be right in there. Number 3,
we're so highbrow on this podcast.
Number 3, I've kind of mixed up the Dee-Dee up the Duff storyline with what then spirals into Max and Frankie. I couldn't think of a good title for that. At the moment, I've called it Bolting Off with Baby Bolton, because there was a little bit of a kidnapping today. Yeah, Gemma was a bit of a grimace for that one. I agree.
Even kidnapping's a bit of a punny thing, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, it just because it's one word, it's like kidnapping your kid.
I think that's why they call it.
I know, but it just seems like...
Well, I don't know. Next up, I told you this one earlier, you quite like this one. Grandmother-in-law, which is the Evelyn story where she has suddenly discovered a penchant for all things legal. And now, was she saying that she's not going to be studying law?
Wound me up. The origin of this story.
What day was it?
Wednesday.
Wednesday's episode. Gemma got right on our high horse about something.
Stupid.
No, look, let's wait until we get there. Just trying to imagine what wound Gemma up with the story.
You won't be able to guess.
And finally, we've got the Mason and Dylan stuff, which feels like it's a bit retreading old ground. So I'm calling it another stab at this knife crime story.
Nice.
Thanks, there we go. And that's me done for the day. That's all my creativity out of the way. I didn't even use ChatGPT for any of those. Whenever
me and Mum at the allotment and we're using our hory nives, my mum goes, "It's a zombie knife, watch out," like that.
I don't even remember how your mum knows. I think you probably told her that her hory knife looked like a zombie knife during the Mason storyline.
I told her that if you were to write something like derogatory or violent,
like "Grr, I'm gonna get you,"
like "I will kill weeds," technically it would become a zombie knife, because the definition is literally any
a knife of particular length
and has writing on it.
A threatening slogan.
Yeah, there must be some, like, there must have been a few novelty hories out there that had like, "I will be the death of weeds," and they were like, "Right, burn them. We have to get rid of them."
I don't know. We didn't get much of a look at Dylan's knife, did we? In today's episode, it was only fleetingly on screen.
It looked vaguely Klingon to me.
Really? It was a bit curved, wasn't it?
Really
I don't know whether it had any writing on there, so but I'm sure we'll get to see more of it next week.
Why don't young men have pen knives anymore? They are not in the Scouts. Is he not in the Scouts?
Oh, you don't need it. You can just do everything you need to with your phone. There's an app for that.
Well, you can cut things with your phone.
Yeah, definitely. Right, Gemma, can you do that Kit and Run story, please? I'm going to nominate this one for you.
I just want to say, earlier I said that Becky was in it for 3 years. She was in it for 6 years.
Oh, that's what I said.
And Raquel was in it for 5 years. But my point really is that it wasn't like at the end, like when we got to year 6, we weren't going, "This character's all right, actually." You know, right out of the gate, she was brilliant. It didn't take 3 years for us to say. We weren't 3 years in. We weren't 3 years in going, "Why is Becky in it all the time?"
No, exactly. There are some characters that straight from the start.
Yeah.
You're there with you. Like, that's what Abby was for me. More recent examples. Anyway, look,
Sorry, I just wanted to make my point clear.
All right. Correction corner.
Correction corner was something I just said 5 minutes ago. Kit and Run. Wow, isn't he tall?
Yeah.
Yeah. On Monday. Okay, so Debbie's driving her car, minding her own business, when Daniel and Bertie and Bethany are walking along. And then Bertie runs in the road because I think Bethany waves at him. Yeah. And then she nearly runs him over. Bertie. And they all get into a big argument because they're already mad at her. Yeah, because...
They're mad at Debbie because of her involvement with the Turkish... what's it called? Plastic surgery debacle.
Well, she never...
She seems to have gone a bit quiet.
She never registered her interest.
No.
In it to them.
Debbie pretty much comes out on top of that argument.
Well, she's like, "Don't run in the road."
As she should.
I don't want to run over children. You'd know if I wanted to run over children, believe me. So, Debbie bobs around the garage and says, "Look, can you sort my car out, please? Or I want to get it fixed." And Kevin's asking about what's going on with her and Daniel. And he's going to defend her because he's a brother, even though he doesn't really agree with her investing in plastic surgery. I think Debbie just knows that it's every woman's right to be able to pursue the beauty that she was given naturally. Yeah. Because she's gorgeous, isn't she? She's got a great figure, she's got a great face, brilliant cheekbones. Mm-hmm. So who wouldn't want to look like Debbie? And really, it's benevolent of her to allow women access to
Debbie
that.
just needs a few accessories, doesn't she, to top it all off? And like those earrings, that's her plastic surgery.
That would have given the game
She had
away.
her holy hand grenades on this week again, did you
If
notice?
Bethany had gone to the plastic surgery, I was going to say factory, but I mean hospital, in Turkey, and there'd just been a kiosk in the front with just really elaborate earrings that all look like Debbie Webster style. This is very odd. This must be where she buys them from.
At home from home.
Right, so Bethany meets with Daniel in the cafe later, saying, "Oh, thanks for defending me. Sorry, I lied about cancer." And he's like, "Sorry, I got mad that you lied about cancer."
I'd forgotten, because they weren't really seeing eye to eye at the beginning of the week, were they? After she'd
Lied about
claimed
cancer.
that she'd had the big C.
She didn't really. She just didn't correct somebody when they
She
assumed.
just didn't say no. She doesn't have it.
I mean, normally you rush to say no, don't you? But it was very understandable. So they reach a truce.
You're a Bethany defender.
And he's like, "Look, I know I said last week that you brought it on yourself, but I want to retract that. I don't think that you did. Anyone who says that is heartless and cruel. And that's not me. I'm Daniel.
I think
I'm perfect in every way."
I think I've been back and forth about this over the months since Bethany had her little séjour in Turkey, and I don't blame her. I don't.
Why on earth would you? I don't understand why you would.
I think people do look down on people who have procedures, don't they? Some people do. But yeah, I think she went into it in good faith, and she was never going to expect something like that would happen. And you can't just say, "Well, look how vain she is, she brought it on herself," because even though not everybody goes to the extremes of going under the knife, everybody does little something to make themselves look a little bit more presentable, don't they? Whether it's just, spending that little bit extra brushing your teeth, or putting a nice pair of danglers on your earlobes. I don't do that one.
I literally haven't brushed my hair in about 5 years.
Have you not?
No.
This is why Gemma doesn't appear in photos, everybody. Because she
I
can't be
don't-
bothered to brush her hair
I
for
don't
it.
need to brush my hair. It's literally no need.
You've got
Women who
naturally
brush their hair are
perfect hair.
vain, I say.
You don't
Unreasonably
do
vain
the
and
100
self-obsessed.
brushes.
No, I remember being obsessed with that and wanting a Mason and Pearson brush when I was younger, so they're supposed to make your hair.
Did you used to do it? Maybe you got all your lifetime's brushing out the way by the time you were 10.
Oh, I wish I could get some things like that out of the way. I want to cut my toenails, so I never have to. I'll do it for a day, so I never have to do it again.
I quite like
I
cutting my
hate cutting my
toenails. It's
toenails.
really satisfying.
Oh, it's
Especially when you
such a
get a whole
pain.
big bit come out at once, or when you get a whole nail.
Oh,
that's what you want to
that's
go for,
satisfying,
isn't
yeah.
it? When you get a whole crescent moon of nail out there.
I think what I don't like about it is the few days between where you're in denial that you need to cut your toenails, and you're like, I don't mind. I can feel my toenails digging into my socks. That's completely fine.
The thing that I don't like,
mind.
the thing that I don't like about toenails is when you think
This is so bizarre.
when you've got a bit because I'm going to try and get a really big piece out to try and make it go off in one.
Yeah.
And then you do it,
do
and then
it
you go
too
a little
far.
bit too far, and then you get the next few days with sore toes.
Well, this is what happened to Bethany, isn't it?
Yeah, she just took it a little bit too far.
She went
and
too
now she's got
far.
a stoma for life.
And now she's got in physical pain because of vanity, really.
Yeah.
So we don't feel bad for her. I mean, we do feel bad for her. We don't blame her at all. So we know how it feels. Right,
We know how it feels. We've cut our toenails too long sometimes.
and sometimes also when a bit of your fingernail goes and you pull it and you go down the side of your nail.
And when you
Ooh,
get a hangnail.
Deary me.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
That's another risk, isn't it? Sometimes you can have a hangnail and you think, I'm just going to grab it with a pair of tweezers and pull it out. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay.
Sometimes
and then
there's
sometimes
blood.
it's just like, yeah, you wait a few seconds and then the blood starts coming.
You know, there's somebody in that stoma support group going, I am here for the hangnail
Yeah.
group. And I think
They're
I've come in the wrong
I
place.
think that those people in the Spoma support group that are saying that they've got cancer,
None of them have
actually, they
cancer.
just pulled a hangnail out
They're
and
all
now they've got
going-
a stoma somehow.
I can't say anything. All these other people, they're all suffering.
Maybe they
all
were
went
digging
through
around in
chemo.
their belly buttons too much to get a bit of fluff out and then
And then
start
so- and then
piercing
the-
something deep
Oh
down.
no, they dug in their belly button and they got a funny feeling on their foot.
What?
Do you not get that if you fiddle around with your
my-
belly button?
This is what happens when we record the podcast early. We go right
I know
off
we
the
do,
topic.
don't we? Right, silence.
We're baking a cake later, everybody.
We're making Nigella's holiday hot cake.
Yeah.
I've been making this for a week now.
And today is the day we're going to do
We're
it.
gonna have to do it now.
Right,
so
go
I
on
measured
then.
everything out.
What happened next?
Okay, so Bethany is in the pub and she notices that Jenny is wearing a top that looks exactly like the one that she used to have, and suddenly she realises that something has gone awry.
I'd forgotten about this. This was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? That Daniel decided to donate Bethany's clothes not to the charity shop, but to Daisy for safekeeping. Because what could possibly go wrong
We knew
there?
something would happen, but we'd forgotten, hadn't we?
We had forgotten. And I don't think anyone would have expected that it would have been Jenny that would have turned up wearing Bethany's clothes.
No, but it would have been a bit weird if it had been Daisy, wouldn't it?
Why weird?
Because she knows that Daisy knows that thinks that... Daisy knows that Bethany thinks that those are at the charity shop, so why would she turn up wearing it and flaunting it in her face?
This is true.
Also, just to be clear, Daisy and Bethany do not have the same dress sense at all. I don't think there's anything that either of them would wear of the other ones.
Well, I wouldn't say that Bethany and Jenny would as well. I don't think
that top
they
was
would
a very odd choice for Bethany. I don't. Although I have seen her wearing it, and I think when I saw her wearing it, I thought she looked weird in it.
So you thought, I'll tell you who'd look that good in that? Jenny Connor at the pub. Yeah.
Well, she says, "Oh yeah, this used to be Daisy's actually," and Bethany realises that what Daniel's done and has a go at him for leaving the clothes with Daisy.
I did it out of love, says Daniel.
And then she says, "There can't be any love without trust, Daniel," and storms off.
He was a bit of a plonker for doing this.
He always thinks he knows better than everyone else. This is why I love him as Ken's son, because they're both the same.
He's absolutely perfect for it. So I will go back and forth about how much I can tolerate Daniel and how much I like him. But when he does stuff like that, when he is so, got the blinkers on about how much... Well, you're right. He's when he just thinks that he's in the right. It's very, very satisfying.
I can just see him
sometimes.
on Reddit's relationship subreddit going, "Why am I the arsehole? My girlfriend went off on me, and I was just doing it out of love because she doesn't know it herself well enough to understand."
And everyone would say that he is, and he's like, "No, I'm not."
Oh, well, this was stupid. I was just going to delete my account. Okay. And he's going to have to start another one, like Shakespeare Lover. Oh, here we go. 52
he probably does
now.
spend all his time
52.
on relationship advice and subreddit, giving the advice because he thinks it's the expert. He certainly doesn't spend time at school, I'll tell you that.
No, he got sent home early, didn't he?
Yeah, what was it? It was Wednesday. He got sent home early because he was a bit sad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's all right.
That's right. These cons don't need to learn anything, don't worry. Clearly it didn't work on Matty when he tried to teach him a lesson those years ago because he's out doing all sorts now. But I do wish, I think one of the things that people have said about...
Hurry up.
One of the things that... No, this is Coronation Street related. People have said that it's often difficult to tell what time of day it is in Coronation Street because nobody ever seems to be at work. But I mean, I know a lot of the people don't work off of the street and that's always... Well, not always been quite the case. But
I just don't,
if ever they need an excuse for somebody to be in a scene, they will.
Just say that they're not at work for some petty reason.
Yeah, well, I think that like Weatherfield Comprehensive is the only school that has 15 inset days a year rather than 5. And I don't trust those gas pipes, I tell you.
They've got to have
they
inset
spring a
days
leak at least once a year.
so that they can be kept abreast of the latest social developments that they have to watch out for. Like, right.
Yeah, last year was upskirting. This week, knife crime.
Consent, vaping. We've just gone on itv.com/advice and we're just teaching you everything on here.
We went on there earlier, didn't we? And we were like, who was it that had a heart problem in October? Like, oh yeah, Gail. That was the medical issue of the week.
Because later on we'll find out Frankie's got perhaps something wrong with him. So I was just being sneaky and seeing if they'd accidentally uploaded some kind of horrible, tragic charity.
We were doing some attempting to get spoilers going about it.
Spoilers from the advice page. They've done that before, I tell you that. They've done that before.
Yeah, but
where you're like, oh, I'm sure they'll be fine. And it's like, if you want advice about terminal cancer, go to itv.com.
You possibly could just look at the spoilers in next week's Soaps Mags, Jem, because I do not know what's wrong with Frankie, but I imagine that it probably says in there.
It probably does, yeah.
The thing is, I don't really care what's wrong with Frankie, I have to say. It is another case of, Frankie, my dear, I don't give a damn about what's wrong with you.
Oh, that's mean.
I know.
Anyway, Daniel's getting drunk later and he tells Daisy that he's worried that he and Bethany are over because he's really messed up again. And then Kevin comes in and has a go at him for moaning at Debbie. And Jenny ends up having to kick Daniel out because it gets really heated. And
Daniel's getting a bit plastered, isn't he?
He sits out, he's got a can of lager, he's drinking it, and he sees Kevin, who's finished sorting out Debbie's car, putting the keys to her car on the wheel arch.
Because Debbie wants to pick it up really early the next morning.
Does she not have more than one set of keys? Could she not just leave the keys with her brother and have her spare key with her?
She has just bought this car as well. I don't have a
Is it a
huge
new
experience.
car or is it like a vintage car?
Oh, I thought it was new.
I've
not had huge experience of
but
buying cars, but I generally
cars...
have had two keys.
Even us plebs who have only ever bought one new car in our lives, and it was because we bought it and we've had to pay for it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Even we had 2 keys, and then one of them doesn't work anymore.
I mean, I think that she maybe could have taken the time to take how many steps across the street from the garage to number 13?
Yeah, just can you leave it? Can I knock on for it?
Yeah. She didn't need it that early in the morning, surely, did she?
Where's Kevin going to be? Where is Kevin going to be? Pub, home, work.
Well, first thing in the morning, hopefully not pub. But yeah, I think that she brought that on herself. But Kevin, you had this coming to you. You don't leave keys. They're even in a really obvious place as well.
I think they were like really... Didn't they have a disco ball on them?
It's probably something like that. I know it gets dark early at this time of year, but sorry.
Well...
If Debbie was asking for that car to be stolen, if she asked Kevin to do that.
Well, if everybody in Coronation Street only showed impeccable judgment at all times, it would be boring, wouldn't it?
This is true.
So, he sees these keys, and...
Daniel does.
When Daisy leaves the pub that night, she sees Daniel, he's in the car, and this seems like wasn't it nighttime?
Yeah.
But when Kevin put the keys, was it not daytime?
Yes, like I said, it gets dark early. It gets dark early.
Well, not like in 5 minutes.
He had to bide his time.
Oh, so he waited.
Had to finish his can of lager.
This is very tasty. I'm going to
this episode was...
I wouldn't want to waste that.
Was it this episode that was most of it spent at night? I think it was. I love a good nighttime Coronation Street. And then it was, because then partway through the episode, they went into the next day. A very rare occurrence. But yeah, go on. What were you saying?
What's the question?
What were you saying?
Where I'm at.
Daniel's just driven past 3
Daisy.
sheets to the
she
wind,
sees him.
3 miles an hour.
She can see he's in Debbie's car, and he goes around the corner and crashes into Seb's garden, which is so disrespectful.
I was quite excited by this. I don't think I really knew anything that was going to happen in Corrie this week, and I always try and avoid spoilers anyway, but sometimes some sneak through. So yeah, I thought there was enough action, and this was, Monday can sometimes be a little on the slow side, can't it, to work your way up into the week. But I thought this was a great way to start it, although I wasn't a particular fan of the direction of the crash. Having they had like the dash cam view for some of it, didn't they? Like a camera inside the car as it was careening around the corner, and then they didn't actually show the moment of the crash, a bit like Simon's earlier this year, because they probably couldn't afford it, especially not with that car. Although I have actually seen some people online discussing that make of car, and although it looks quite swish and fancy, apparently they start from about £10,000, so they're actually
I can
as
buy
far
one
as
then.
as far as swish cars go, fairly reasonable. I think that in the world of Coronation Street, it was supposed to be a bit more expensive than that.
What kind of car is it?
I don't know. Digital Spy Forums.
It's a red car.
Or red, I don't remember. It wasn't red, it was silver.
What? I thought it was a red sports car.
No, you're confusing that with Ronnie's car. Ronnie's old. Yeah, Ronnie's car is red. David's car is red. Debbie's car was 100% silver. I knew you weren't watching.
Kit's car's red as well.
See, this is what happens when they show the crashes from the first person view over the windshield.
My problem is that I think that all convertible sports cars should really, by law, be red.
Or yellow.
No, red.
Okay.
Red's the only car. If you're going to have a convertible sports car, why would you have it any colour but red?
Yeah. So anyway, like you said, it has
think you are?
Crashed into Seb's garden, smoke billowing from the front.
Oh dear.
What's going to happen next?
Daniel's panicking because he's like, this isn't a good idea. This was bad. I'm going to get in trouble. And so Daisy rushes to him and starts to get him out, wipes the fingerprints down, and she sort of like says, I'll sort it out, you go away. She finds him in the empty pub later. No, he finds her in the empty pub later, and she's fuming at him. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this. I could have killed somebody. Maybe Bethany's better off without me. And Daisy's like, are you done with your pathetic little pity party? Which is honestly what Daniel needs to hear almost every episode.
Yeah.
Right, listen,
She's done something pretty serious to cover up for his idiocy.
He's just crying.
Yeah. And I love Daisy in this scene.
To be honest with you, though, how much trouble would he really get in compared to how much trouble they're going to get in now?
Well, yeah, possibly more now.
I mean,
although the
I'm going to
CCTV
lose
has
my
since been
driving
deleted.
licence.
Well, they stole People always get away with everything in Coronation Street, don't they? You should just remember that.
He'd just go to Debbie and go, look, what? Surely this is going to end up with him going to Debbie. You don't say anything about me stealing your car and we won't pursue you for the cost of the stoma stuff.
Oh, yeah. That seems like it's a quite neat bow on it, doesn't it?
I think I would be really fantastic as a soap character because you can almost always solve any problem with double blackmail.
Yeah.
On the show.
Everyone's just in a constant state of stalemate, aren't they, in Coronation Street?
Yeah, kind of like Eileen and Gail today with their drinking. That was funny.
Yeah, so anyway, I enjoyed the fact that they were concocting, and we're still, quite a way left of the episode to go at this point. They were covering up this crime. It was dark. I thought that the tone of it was quite exciting. Anyway, what happened next?
So she's saying to him, right, we need to get our story straight. You need to keep your mouth shut. If you go down, I go down as well. Okay? So we need to sort everything out. And he says, well, I need to go home. But he's like really, really still out of it. So Bethany tells him to stay.
Daisy does.
Daisy tells him to stay there. Meanwhile, Bethany is on the sofa at her mum's flat. She feels really humiliated because Daisy is like her arch rival nemesis, and she knows all about her insecurities and the fact that she didn't want to wear her clothes, and that Daniel's also, it's humiliating to have your boyfriend kind of ask his ex to hide something.
That was the worst bit.
Yeah,
and Daniel keeps going back to Daisy. I could maybe excuse him for the first time, that he's gone there, for a supportive ear when actually he should have been with Bethany. But come on.
He's so silly.
I know.
So, Sarah's like, Bethany tells her all about it, and Sarah just cannot believe how stupid Daniel is.
Well, yeah, she says don't waste your breath on him.
No. Early next morning, Daniel is, he's still in the pub. And he slept on the sofa.
Yeah, he's sobered up a bit now.
And he's trying to talk to Daisy about what's happened. And she's like, don't talk to me about it. Just, can you go, please? And he leaves. And Jenny's like, was that Daniel? And she tells him that he was just really drunk.
No,
and
she tells her.
She tells Jenny that he was just really drunk and invited him to stay on the sofa. Meanwhile, it's been noticed the car's gone missing. Debbie's reported it to the police. And I was, at this point, I'm like, Debbie, it's round the corner. Because I thought it was still where...
Oh, stuck in Seb's garden.
Yeah.
Daisy had taken it on a bit of a trip, hadn't she?
They had. And so they do have to admit that Kevin had left the key there. And Debbie thinks that Sarah's seen him do that.
Yeah, she's convinced that Sarah was the one that pinched her to get her back for the turkey thing.
Sarah already proved that she has got no ability to comprehend consequences if she's trying to get one up on somebody.
Sarah, some people act first and think later. Sarah's just act first, and that's the end of it, isn't it?
Michael, I think you were right the first time.
Act first.
Sarah's act first.
Think with her loins.
Yeah, so Kit questioned Sarah about it in the pub, and she's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But I did see Kevin last night after coming back from the factory, but I just went to go and visit Dee-Dee. And Kit's like, okay, fine. But then...
Story checks out.
Interesting. Daniel and Daisy meet in Villain's Alley later because they're up to no good, so they have to relocate. And she tells him the police still haven't found the car yet. And he's like, well, what did you do with it? And she's like, I did what I had to do. Meanwhile, Kit's at the station and he's got CCTV on Victoria Street that clearly shows Daisy in the car. And it's a really great photo of her. She looks a bit like she's been captured by the ride things at, like, Thorpe Park or...
Do you think?
What's the other one? What's the big one? I always want Alton Towers.
Yeah.
You know when you're on a ride and like you go past the cameras and there's a picture of you?
Well, she wasn't going, ah!
No, but she was very intense.
Yeah, this is her driving away from the scene of the crime. And some people online have commented that was quite good quality for CCTV. But hey, we're in 2024 now. Maybe that's what it's like these days. I don't know. So with all this happening, and I said this was very hard to separate out the stories this week, and I don't think I've done the best job, but we also do know at this point that something has happened to Shona, don't we? And I think many of us suspected that maybe she'd been hit. What had caused her bad arm was Well, it was either going to be Daniel as he was crashing into Victoria's Gardens that Shona was there, or it turned out that it was Daisy, didn't it? We found out, but maybe a little bit more on that on the Shona story. I don't know, but I wanted to focus more on the car stuff and the drama with Daisy and Bethany and Daniel. So let's park, to use a driving metaphor, this for one moment. Amazing. And then get onto Wednesday and find out what's going on with the rest of this love triangle.
We pretend this isn't scripted, but you can tell that it is.
Oh yeah, totally.
On Wednesday, Daisy's in the pub and she's looking at an article about a woman being killed in a hit and run, and she's kind of like, oh.
Hope that wasn't me.
Maybe I did kill somebody.
The streets of Weatherfield are a dangerous place, aren't they?
Well, they need to put speed bumps in. I'm still waiting for there to be a speed bump story. Didn't they have one? And they didn't like it because they don't want to mess up the cobbles.
I don't know.
Anyway,
no, they've not. There's never going to be speed bumps on the cobbles. I don't remember that. There's definitely been various traffic stories over the year, but I don't think there's been that one. Anyway,
so Kit comes in and he's like, "This you in the car, CCTV."
It is, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. So Sarah and Bethany in the cafe, and Sarah's telling her, "You got to decide. Are you going to stay with Daniel or not? Does it make you happy?" And make a pros and cons list, and then maybe leave it on the top of a bin.
I was disappointed that we didn't get to see this pros and cons list, because this could have
been hilarious.
Do you remember it was either Toya or Leanne was making one about Imran that one time?
Yeah.
And I don't know, what would you say are the pros and cons for Daniel?
A steady job.
Yeah, pro. But teacher, so probably works late, although never in Weatherfield.
Comes and goes as he pleases is another one.
Always right, always thinks he's right. That's definitely a con for Daniel, isn't it?
Yeah, boring.
Ties to the Barlow family dynasty. That's a definite pro.
Self-obsessed.
Yeah, that's a con.
A dead wife, that's a con because he
keeps
goes
bringing her up
and cries about it.
Got a kid.
Well, you can go pro or con with that. Daisy, that's a pro. As far as she's concerned. Bethany, I'm not sure yet. Bethany's very close in age to Bertie.
She looks only a few years different. There's maybe a little bit more than that. But what else you got?
Sanctimonious.
You got
intelligent, positive.
Yeah.
Less intelligent than he thinks he is. Negative.
Knows how to use an apostrophe correctly. I'm gonna say that's a pro because
negative
that counts as a pro for me as well.
Will lecture you if you use it incorrectly.
So it really is a bit of a 50-50.
Isn't it?
Yeah. You've got to take the rough with the smooth if you're going to be dating Daniel Osborne.
I mean, does a prison teacher get paid the same as a normal teacher?
I would have thought so.
It's not great, is it?
Although maybe a bit more of a risk there. I don't know. Is it a pro that Daniel, if you want to buy him a present, is he easy to buy for? Do you think? Like, how many poetry books are there?
Just buy him a first edition of some.
A first edition of any pretentious book, and there's plenty of those.
Even
aren't
if
there?
he doesn't like it, he'll pretend that he does because he has to. Here's another con: occasionally gets violent and will crash cars, push people down the stairs.
That's a definite con. He's not completely in control of his feelings.
Might kill you.
Yeah.
If Daniel ends up killing somebody, I will not be surprised.
I know.
He's a absolutely killer in the waiting.
The fact that he went out driving drunk on Monday night, that shows what frame of mind he's in. And there's some characters where you think, no, they wouldn't do that. Come on, even when they're plastered. Daniel, absolutely.
Or maybe that's a pro.
Completely self-destructive.
Renegade bad boy.
Impulsive.
Oh, I like an impulsive man. No, I don't. I like predictable men.
Yeah, predictable and boring.
Bring in a good wage.
That's your kind of guy, isn't it?
And funny. Daniel's not funny. That's a real big con.
No, he can be.
No, he's not funny.
Maybe he's funny in a kind of Oscar Wilde sort of way.
No, he wishes.
That's who he lives up to. That's who he thinks he is.
He is not funny. I'm sorry, but he isn't. When was the last time he made a joke?
I expect
maybe he's good at sarcasm, but I think that's the birthright of the English.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the British. I'm gonna give everybody else in these islands a pass on that. I think we're all pretty sarcastic.
Honestly, I think that the Barlow dynasty does trump a lot of it though, because if you get out with Daniel, then assuming that you don't get some horrible disease, you could be potentially in it for the long term. Yeah. You got to think of that. Yeah. Okay, so
work for Deirdre. We've worked it out, and we're still not sure whether she should stay with him. I mean, pros and cons for Bethany. Just he's terrible to you and he fancies Daisy.
Yeah.
And he shags her on Wednesday. Con.
Daniel is so not. I really hope that Bethany finds him out and kips into the curb. He totally deserves to be slung out by him. But he's such a randy dog, isn't he? Him and Kit, they're both as bad as each other.
Pro or con?
Well, con if you were looking for a stable guy in your life.
Pro if you're looking for a randy dude.
Randy
dude united.
Like father, like son.
Okay, right. So, Daisy is talking to Kit because she's got to get herself out of this bother that she's now in because of the CCTV photo.
Tell you what, this is Ken and Daniel. The word book and bonk, there's only one letter separating them, and that basically they're the two words. That is their life. Yeah, that would be it. If they were a Jane Austen novel, it'd be Of Books and Bonks, wouldn't it? A story of the Barlows.
Right. So I mean, brushing aside the fact that it's a good picture of her, and she probably likes that. She's got to get out of this. So she tells Kit that she's the one that stole the car, that she doesn't mention Daniel at all. She said it was a spur of the moment thing. She was angry at Debbie because of what happened to Bethany, and she dumped the car in a back street somewhere because she panicked and she doesn't remember where she put it. And she's like saying to him, can't you just get rid of this? Can't you just get rid of this footage? And he's like, well, yes, but...
He says, I can't just make this footage disappear. And she's like, can't you though?
Really?
You're a bit of a bent cop, right? I can't remember how many people know just how bent he is.
Bent for justice.
Yeah.
Because really, what's the justice in sending Daisy to prison when she's so beautiful?
None.
Exactly.
None.
So he goes...
We all deserve to see her out in the free world.
For the greater good. I mean, it would disseminate that very nice picture of her to the news. There's that to think
Wasn't
of.
that nice?
But she was an influencer, so she might end up with a stalker again. She goes in the papers. Think of that. So he goes to the station and tells Craig, no evidence, no CCTV. Kevin left the wheels under the wheel arch. Basically, case closed.
Left the wheels under the wheel arch.
Yeah.
Where would you put your wheels?
Keys, I mean. I like to be a bit different with it. I like to turn the whole thing upside down so they're on the top. And that way nobody can steal your car because they can't turn it over. It's very difficult to get in. Right, so Debbie then has to go at Kit when he comes into the garage because she's like, obviously with Sarah, Shona overhears her saying this. Kit gets a call saying the car's been found and she's like, oh, brilliant. And he's like, well, not really because it's been set on fire.
Daisy has certainly taken this to the extreme.
Do you think that Daisy did this?
Yes, she said she's done it.
I couldn't remember if she did or not.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
she said I had to get rid of the evidence. I had to clear up the mess you made, Daniel, which goes to prove just how crazy she is for him. Also, I thought. I mean, I know she's ended up bonking Kit by the end of the week as well. But Wednesday, I was like, yes, Daisy and Daniel back together. I really, really hope that this ends with the pair of them together, and this is just
they work better for me than Bethany and Daniel.
They work so much better. They're more on the level intellectually, and I think that counts for a lot. They're more interesting together.
Bethany is just it's too vulnerable, and she looks up to Daniel too much. Daisy's not afraid to tell Daniel, "Shut the hell up, you're an idiot."
Yeah, I do. I think that Bethany kind of hero worships him a little bit.
Oh, he's so good
but
at
also
writing,
sees him
amazing.
as a maybe. I don't think it is a bit of a daddy issue thing because Bethany never knew her dad, but
that
he
doesn't
certainly
mean she doesn't have daddy issues.
Well, I know, but I think he treats her like he's her father in some ways. He does things that he's like, I'm doing this for you. This is best for you. You can't make up your mind yourself. Like when he was like when he told the stoma nurse how difficult she'd been finding it recently. He's not controlling in a Jeff Metcalf kind of way, but he thinks that he needs to steer her down the right path. Whereas with Daisy, I definitely... And that was the same with Sinead in some way as well. Yeah. But Daisy's much more a match for him.
She's got her own mind.
Even the fact that when he was, 3 sheets to the wind on Monday night and pitying himself, and she was like, no, not having any of that. I can't see Sinead or Bethany standing up to him like that and saying, stop pitying yourself.
I can kind of see Bethany doing it, but I just can't see Daniel taking her seriously.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Can I just give props here to the ingenuity of Daisy for being able to, at the spur of the moment, with no prior notice, be able to set fire to a car. How does she set fire to this car?
Good point. Good question.
I mean,
I don't know. I think that
back in the day, pretty much everyone smoked and she might have had a lighter on her. These days, how can you set a fire?
rubbed a few sticks together.
Maybe she was a scout.
Magnifying glass. Oh no, it was at night. There was no sun. Can you stick a magnifying glass in the moonlight and still get a bit of smoke out of that?
I'm not sure.
I think not. But yeah, that is a really good question.
Do you think she sort of stopped at a petrol station or something? She's like, have you got any like petrol and fire?
Now I'm wondering how Abby was able to make Ray Crosby's car explode. If there's
anyone on the show, apart from Cassie, who goes off and has a sly cigarette every now and then, it's going to be Abby.
Yeah.
I bet she's got a secret pack somewhere.
No, Abby
in her
doesn't
house.
smoke.
Who?
Abby doesn't smoke.
I bet she does when
Gemma,
she gets really drunk.
I think that you're just bluffing here, and all women have got a secret firelighting kit in their handbags just in case they want to wreak revenge on some man that's done them wrong. Tell me that's not true.
You're not supposed to know about this. We're going to have words.
I knew it.
We have to delete. Can you delete that? Oh, can you take that bit out?
Sorry.
Right.
I'm doing it for the bros.
So the car's been torched. Oh no. Bethany comes home, Daniel's there, and he's like, oh, I felt ill and I got home. I got sent home early. Actually, we were saying this earlier, but he didn't even get sent home early, did he? Or did he? I thought he didn't even go in the end.
No, I thought he did. Oh, I don't remember. No, I thought he went there and then looked a bit sad and then was sent home and said, you don't want to bum out the prisoners. They're already in here for a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
Or maybe he was hungover and it was obvious and they're like, you're going to make them jealous. Half of them are in there because they were underage drinking. So
who knows? Whatever reason, he needed to be out of work for this storyline to happen.
It didn't really need to happen during the day, though, did it? It could have happened after work.
Monday's episode showed that we could have perfectly good adventures at night in Curry.
You can. Bethany says, I'm leaving you. Here's your key. I've come to collect my stuff. And he's gutted. So he goes to the pub and... On
to the next woman then, I suppose.
Well, yeah. She's ranting at the bar going, who would set fire to a car? I can't believe it. What kind of degenerate...
Who is? Oh, Debbie.
Debbie.
Yeah.
And so he goes around the back to see Daisy and he tells her, what the hell did you set fire to it for? And she says, what do you mean? I had to set fire to it. Otherwise everyone would have seen your fingerprints. I couldn't let you go to prison. You're a good man.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt anyway. It's all fine. And she's probably insured. But it turns out she's not really, is she?
Wasn't she?
No, she's not insured because they put the key under the wheel arch.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That does void that, I suppose, somewhat.
So, unfortunately, Kit, when he told Craig to drop it, he underestimated the tenacity of...
We all remember Craig. We all remember Craig and whose crutches this 2020 or whenever it was.
Yeah. He was really digging into this because Shona's got her arm in a sling. She's at the police station with Adam. We'll explain more about that later. But Craig says she was hit by the car that matches Debbie's, and Adam's convinced her to report it. And Kit's like, oh well, who cares? And he's like, no way. We've got to piece these things together. I can't understand what Craig thinks there is to piece together here.
Yeah.
Someone stole the car and ran into Shona.
Well, he wants to find out who stole the car, doesn't he?
Of course he does, but unless you say to Shona, did you say who it was? And she says, yes, I do.
So he's going to check every CCTV camera in Weatherfield, which I think probably is about 3 of them.
The only thing that can really help him is if he knows where Shona was and that she was in a different place to the other CCTV.
I guess so, but maybe that's in the other story as well.
Craig's like, I'm going to crack this case.
I've got nothing else to do.
And Kit's like, have we not got other things?
Swain's not in it this week, so I suppose I got a bit of time for this. What?
Yeah, Kit's like, we got other things, like, this isn't very important. And Craig's like, no, I must solve a crime. Before I retire, I'm going to solve a crime.
Oh, I was going to just say, like, it's nearly the end of the year and I've got to have at least one in these 12 months, but maybe it is a lifetime's aim for him.
Right, so... Kit goes to the pub and tells Daisy about this, and she's like, oh no, I didn't think I hit her, but looking back, maybe I did. What the hell are you doing?
Just had to turn back and looked and they were getting up, so they were probably fine, right?
And he says, look, this is serious, they're going to have to follow up now. I did delete the CCTV with you on it, but this is a bit of a risk here. We could both be in trouble. Imagine if Kit gets in trouble because of Daniel.
Yeah.
How mad would he be about that?
Yeah. So,
Bethany's having a bit of a change of heart, isn't she? About whether or not
she
she's
can't
going to
bring
leave.
herself to leave Daniel. She's pathetic.
Oh, but my pro list is longer. He's so handsome. We never said handsome, did we?
No.
He's handsome.
I guess.
If you like that kind of thing, you know, tall, wayfish poets.
He's not as wayfish as he once was. He's chunked out a bit over the years.
All right then, tall, chunky poets.
That sounds bad. He's been to the gym.
He's buff. He's a buff poet. Now, there you go. That's a whole genre of romance novels right there, isn't it? So, Daniel, meanwhile, he's had a change of heart too. He's like, oh, Daisy, I'm so grateful. You're so wonderful. And he's like, oh, you're worth it. Oh, Bethany's finishing with me. Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, you had such a great thing together. Oh, I wish I'd never let you go. Yada, yada, yada. Take your pants off. I mean, they do it.
They do it on the sofa, I think, don't they?
They haven't even locked the door.
I know. And Friday's episode showed that Glenda has got no qualms about just waltzing in there.
Good job no one needed a hot pot.
I was going to say. That seems like, quite a thoroughfare through there, doesn't it, to get to the kitchen? I mean, I thought that they were... I can't remember what the reason was, but I thought it was about an hour had passed. Maybe people were talking about the time or something. But very
Absolutely
risky,
disgusting.
very risky. Unless they did go upstairs and then come back down again.
It's also unhygienic because the kitchen's right there.
Yeah,
this is not
true,
as bad
actually.
As Michelle and the sex fridge.
Freezer, yeah.
But it's still very unsavoury.
Yes, I didn't care. I was just happy that they got back together.
Maybe whenever somebody's shagging in the pub, in the back room of the pub, they've got like a special sign. Instead of a sock on the doorknob, they changed the price of a hot pot from $6.95 to $16.95.
That's the secret code.
It's the secret code to the bar stuff, but also nobody around there, they're all too tight. They'd never pay $16.95 for a hot pot. Look at that sign and go, I'm not having one of them. Forget it.
Maybe it's just everywhere in Weatherfield that's a code, not just the pub thing. And maybe it's Weatherfield wide because of all the
Roy, why is your curry
affairs.
$14.95 all of a sudden? Don't ask me. Evelyn's upstairs. Right. So they have done it. And then Daisy says, we need to let Bethany know what's happened. There's no more secrets.
We must announce to Bethany
that
we've done it on the sofa in the back of the Rovers.
Of our lives on the sofa. Also, just because in the spirit of, not keeping secrets, I ran Shona over. I feel kind of stupid. And he's like, what the hell do you mean you ran Shona over? And he's like, oh no, I can't believe I shagged a villain. Well, he has a change of heart and he says, we shouldn't have done it. I've got to go back. My head's all over the place. I feel terrible. I'm going. And she's crying and she tells him to leave. So he goes home with his tail between his legs and Bethany's still there. He apologises for messing up and she says, I want to stay but I can't set myself up for another fall. And Daniel says, I do love you. I've never stopped. And she says, I love you too.
Never stopped loving you, he says, after coming back from
shagging somebody else.
An hour or whatever of passion with, yeah.
And she says it's too much to give up on us or something. Craig's on the phone to someone later. He's like, recheck the CCTV. And the manager is like, we've already done this. I've already spoken to somebody else. And then Kit overhears him and he says, look, stop interfering. I told you I'd done this. Don't double check my work. If I want help, I'll tell you. Mind your own business, basically. So on Friday, Daisy sees Daniel and Bethany are walking in arm down the road and Bethany's like, oh, we're back together again. And Daisy's like, oh, great.
Well, she
wonderful.
Yeah, she puts on a fake smile and congratulates her through gritted teeth, doesn't she?
She's mad in the pub. And Glenda's trying to calm her down. And she's like, look, just get over it. You and Daniel, you haven't shagged in ages. Why would you care? And also, Kit's going to take down your particulars if you want a man. So Daisy's like, yeah, that's right. I've got options. So she calls Kit and invites him over. He comes to the Rovers and...
they're all very liberated, the people of Weatherfield, aren't they?
They need to get those... Do you know, like old... It's like a stereotype that old people have plastic covers on their sofas.
Yeah.
They should just get that everywhere in Weatherfield, just wipe clean furniture. Maybe Argos could try selling some. Glenda walks in as Kit and Daisy are snogging in the back room. She's like, oh... and then... She makes a remark about Daniel and Daisy, and then Kit realises he's only there because she's on the rebound. But he doesn't really care because she's hot. So they carry on kissing. Daniel shows up at the Rovers.
I don't know who's the dirtier dog this week out of Daniel and Kit.
Why is Kit? What's wrong with Kit?
He's been bonking off with Shona, hasn't he?
But to be fair,
he did turn her
knows
down earlier.
He
in the
knows
week,
he's having an affair with Shona, right? So he knows that they're not exclusive.
Yeah.
Also, he hasn't shagged Daisy. We don't know that he shagged her yet.
No, he would have done though.
Yeah, definitely. But he would have been like, I didn't know if we were being, just exclusive with each other. That's what he would say.
Just checking out their options, aren't they? All of them.
Well, Daniel shows up at the Rovers, and
I thought you were going to say something profound there.
No, like what?
I don't know.
It's all fair in shagging and war. So Daniel turns up at the Rovers, and it's like everyone's looking at each other. There's a love triangle going on. You got Kit, you got Daisy, you got Daniel, you got Shona.
Yeah, how many sides has this triangle got? It's at least the pentagon at this point.
I reckon if you were to put them all into... How many is it? 5?
Daniel, Daisy, Bethany, Kit, Shona. Yeah.
If you make them stand in a certain point and draw a line between them, you are going to draw a pentagram. And from the centre of that pentagram will rise a pervert, the likes of which has never been seen before on Coronation Street.
What? Even worse than Reg Holdsworth?
Might be him.
That's
rising from the dead. I don't know if he is dead in the show.
I say do it. No, Reg Holdsworth's still alive and shagging as far as I'm concerned.
If they stand at perfect equal distance from each other, there will be a magic ritual that's done.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody spills like a beer on the floor, that will activate it.
Well, that was Steve on the backgammon set.
He is a bit of a pervert himself, though. Maybe it was Steve that was summoned.
I've seen a few people online this week complaining about them revisiting this love triangle story again.
It was never resolved.
No, it wasn't.
I don't think it was, because that they hold a torch for each other. Daniel and Daisy, I know that there are loads of people that are not fans of them and they were glad when they split up. But I'm sorry, Daniel and Daisy are going to be one of these couples that are always going to be in each other's orbits. The same as Leanne and Nick.
I agree.
And there's a certain groups of characters that are just revolve around one another. And this is a new love triangle for this decade or whatever, like Ken and Deirdre and Mike and...
I'm not going to say that it's as iconic as that.
Certainly not. I'm certainly not claiming that, but every generation has its, groups of people that want to swap STDs.
Yeah.
And this is ours.
Yeah. No, I had no problem with it. I think maybe the main reason I had no problem with it is because I wanted it to go back to the status quo of Daniel and Daisy together. The sixth member of this pentagon, turning into now a hexagon, is Ryan, of course, who was nowhere to be seen this week.
Can I be in it? No.
I don't think Ryan needs to be in any of this, does he? Although I suppose the natural ending to this is that Bethany and Ryan end up together.
Bethany and Ryan is a good shout. What were you going to say? Completely what?
I don't have any excitement about them being together.
They would be boring.
But I don't know who I would like to see Bethany with. But it doesn't have to be an existing character. This is the thing I always say. If you don't have to put somebody with someone else on the show just because you need somebody. It's like Alia and Adam. Are they really suited to each other? No, not at the slightest. So get somebody else. Design a character who is a perfect match for Ryan. Crystal was getting close to that. Or Bethany. Get her somebody who's just going to compliment her nicely.
I don't want any new characters.
Yeah, I suppose
you've got characters at home we can use. You don't need to go out and get new ones. Use the ones you've got.
Well, anyway, anything else? I think that's that storyline, isn't it? Should we go to the other half of it about what was going on with Shona, the show don't tell story? So... basically, if you remember, what did we find out? It was the cliffhanger of last Friday's episode, wasn't it? Shona leaving the Rovers, bumping into Kit, and then revealing that they were the ones that had got together that one night when David suspected that it was Adam. Yeah, exactly. She was finding quite a difference than she's used
getting
to with
David. Getting her magic beans, rubbing them together.
So is that how it works?
Yeah.
Kit's, so he's still a bit flirty with her when he sees her in the cafe, but she's like, no, I'm married. What we did was wrong. It was a mistake. I've just got an email.
And Kit was like, yeah, but it's good though, wasn't it? Do you want to do it again?
I know, he does. He's up for round 2, isn't he? And she's like, and he says, my flat's being fumigated at the moment and I've been put up at Chariot Square.
How erotic.
What's been going on? What causes a flat to need to be fumigated?
I would
Is it
be
a cockroach
terrified.
infestation or something?
I would just be like, you have got bed bugs, haven't you? If you've got nits or bed bugs, now
or
I've got
just
them.
like lice.
Yeah.
I think she best go off to see Dr. Gaddis, if I'm honest.
Michael, if one person on this street gets lice, within a week, everyone's going to have it.
Yeah, well, like we said, they're all at it together, aren't they?
Disgusting.
So anyway, he's been put up at Chariot Square because they don't want to design a flat for him. So Shona comes home. She's like, I said no. She goes home, finds David on the sofa, who's supposedly feeling a little bit under weather. They butt heads again about where, or maybe I should sleep in different beds. Or does she suggest that? I can't remember. But yeah, we know that they've not been seeing eye to eye for a little bit over the whole Clayton situation. And then Jesse comes home and says, like, I can offer you a bit of alone time later if you want. And David's like, no, I don't need it. Huffs off upstairs to have a bath. He's clearly uninterested in making it up to Shona. So later on, Shona asks David straight, what is wrong with you? And he's like, no, I don't want to talk about it now.
Don't talk about
She says, no, we do. No, we need to communicate. We're husband and wife here. I don't want this to be the end of things. We've both made mistakes here. Let's just talk. And he says, well, look, I'm gutted. You told me before, a couple of months ago, whenever it was, that you were ready to have a baby. And now you've just been taking this morning after pill, and I could have been a dad to be, and you cut that out. And so he's pretty nice off about that. He says, look, to be honest, Shona, you can sleep on the sofa. You clearly have got no desire to share a bed with me, so stuff it then. I can't be dealing with you anymore. So that kind of sucks for Shona. Then you've also got, this is where the Gail and Jesse story, elbows its way into the proceedings, and maybe I should have put this separate, but who cares? I'm midway through podcasting now. So Gail and Jesse are sharing a meal at Speeddale later, discussing this move to France that they brought up last week, and she's a bit unsure. She thinks it's a bit of a big step. He says, no, look, you got a right to move on. You got a right to be healthy. You've been in this show 50 years, Gail. Did you know that? You deserve to go to France. Anybody, if anybody does.
If anybody does,
And
it's you or Ken or Rita.
Exactly. She's like, okay, fine, I will. So, Gail, would you go to France? Would you like to just make the move and emigrate to Provence or wherever it is she's going?
Not Provence. No, it's too hot. My dream is to live in France. You know this.
Well,
yes, I go tomorrow.
You wouldn't want to live in a little chateau in the south, though. Not that that's where they're.
It's too far to go to. Number one, too hot. Number two, too far.
I think that
that's it.
But is it right for Gail?
No, it's stupid. When has Gail ever wanted to live anywhere? She doesn't even want to move streets.
Yeah, and she doesn't speak any French. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here and say nor does Jesse. So to move to a country as beautiful as it is,
I do think it's really rude to not have any knowledge whatsoever.
Who was it that moved to France? Isn't Eva in France at the moment? Or
Yeah.
Stella moved to France, didn't she?
Yeah.
So
But
maybe Gail
one thing about Stella, I will say, she's fantastic at accents. She'll pick it up in no time at all.
Yeah, I think it's quite nice to imagine Gail getting married to Jesse and having happily ever afters there, but in practical terms, people do it, don't they? But you're right, it just doesn't seem. Although she has spent extended periods of time in Thailand,
But
she's clearly had a taste for foreign living,
well,
and she does deserve a bit of a break.
It's not like Thailand, is it?
No.
It's a lot more approachable from a Westerner's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's rude to move to a country you don't know the language of and have absolutely no intention of learning. And I can imagine Gail being too dim to try to learn French.
I don't know. She had her Italian for Lovers DVD, didn't she?
I think she's probably got PTSD from trying to learn a language.
from Lewis Archer.
Do you think when she tries? Do you think she'll be like, okay, Jesse, let's get ready to go to France. I've got this French for Lovers DVD. She pops that in, and it's also Lewis Archer going, you thought I'd gone, but I've left you another message. You pervert.
I think that there's a problem if you're called Jesse and you go to France because they'd call you Je sais, and that means I know. Think of all the confusion that would come about in that. I don't know.
Yeah. What's? Is there any word that sounds like Gail?
No, they don't have the A sound in French.
What would they call her then? Gilles.
Well, this is a Gael, isn't it?
Gael.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gail and yes.
Jesse. It's a romantic thought and it's a brave thought. I don't think that I would. I mean, I wouldn't want to miss out on Coronation Street, of course. Although I believe you can watch it online if you do not live in the UK. So
my absolute dream would be to move to somewhere in the
I don't have the
France
guts for it.
I know, if you were up for it, I'd go. I would love to do this. Move somewhere near that's easily accessible so that people can come and visit us. Find one of these ramshackle chateaus that are like, 50p.
Well, you looked this up, didn't you? Because Jesse was talking later in the week about getting the money for it and giving it to David. I can't remember it. What is it? His current house money he's getting through.
He sold his house. He's getting his house money.
Yeah.
Is he divorced?
Yeah,
maybe that's where it's all going. Because I'm sorry, but you can buy a crap. He's saying he's buying a house that needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And he's getting David to money launder the cash through.
That's
to give
it.
To
yeah,
him,
Damon's money.
To give to a friend of his.
He's going to turn it into euros.
If he's doing mates rates on doing up a place in France, you're going to get away with a really, really nice house for about 80 grand.
Yeah, we looked into it, didn't we? Following, I think it was Wednesday's episode that this came.
If you don't mind where you live,
it was surprisingly cheap.
You don't want to live,
how much you can get a dump for
in a name, a big name city.
Yeah.
I like to live in Marseille, but it's too hot.
I just want this to. I kind of would like to have a spin-off now with Gail, Eva, and Raquel. That's a DVD waiting to happen, I tell you. It writes itself. And Claire, she's in France, isn't she? As far as we know.
And
yeah,
I
still
would
on
call
the lam.
it Je suis Northern.
Okay, anyway, so there we go. That's what Gail and Jesse are planning for. Back to Shona.
So you know more French than me.
Yes.
You can speak French. We could do
so
this.
They say.
I would love, this is my dream. Go to France, find a crap house with loads of land somewhere near a Carrefour and a place that's got a really nice farmer's market, and start a YouTube channel about us doing it up. Get loads of followers and earn all our money just farting around in France and going to restaurants and going, oh, bonjour, I'm trying to learn French again.
I'm very risk-averse, I'm afraid.
I know you are.
But Gail's all right. She's retiring, isn't she?
I think
At least she doesn't have to go and find a job, although she is a very good bottomer. So
but you've lived in France and I never have.
I know. Look, anyway, all good for Gail and Jesse. Back to Shona.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm not jealous at all. But the one thing I will say is that I feel exactly the same about it as Audrey did at the end. And that's one of the reasons I would probably not really want to go, because I couldn't leave my friends and family.
You think everyone will miss you too much.
They'd all cry, wouldn't they?
Anyway, look, back to Shona. She's being relegated to the sofa at number 8. Watch out.
Too far to Manchester.
Well, yes,
France.
That's the reason. If we lived in France, we couldn't just pop. It's a 5-hour drive as it is from here if we want to go to stalk at the gate outside Media City, but it'd be out of the question.
Living in Calais and or near Lille or something, and then get in the car, get on the ferry, from the ferry
just have
from
to fly
Kent.
there.
Yeah, maybe.
You could fly from Marseille,
because Amsterdam,
Marseille to Manchester,
has got flights to Manchester, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe we'd have to drive to Amsterdam in our cute French car.
I don't know. Look, right, shut up. We're going back to Shona. She's on the sofa. I hope that spring's been fixed in there that David was telling Lauren about the other week, because she's been sent there to think about what she's done.
Yeah.
And she's actually texting Kit.
She is thinking about what she's done.
Are you still awake? She is actually, isn't she? I couldn't believe that she's gone back to him, because she shows up at the hotel. She wants round 2. What a slapper.
You can't say that. She's a liberated woman.
Shona.
I know, I don't know what she's doing.
Do it once. Bit of a mistake.
Do it once, shame on you.
Did.
Do it twice.
And again,
shame on you.
It's Kit. Slime ball sleaze bag of the street. Come on, you know this, Shona.
Michael, look. This
you don't want to be related to Bernie
surprise.
Winter, do you? I'm marrying them off already.
This is gonna come as some surprise to you, but a lot of people do sleep with people and they don't really care about what their personalities are like. That's true.
I know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's a slime ball if he's good in bed. He's obviously better than David. Poor David.
Well, maybe he's just a bit vanilla. And
I don't want to know what Shona's into.
Well, look, I am disappointed in Shona because I wouldn't say it's in her personality to be unfaithful.
Brain damage.
She's had to put up with a heck of a lot being married to David all these years. If she was the type to stray, she would have done it.
She had loads of opportunity.
I would say that she's incredibly loyal. I think her loyalty is a great attribute to her. I mean, the fact that she's not given up on her son for one thing.
She's not shagging her son though. She's shagging Kit.
It's made her go down in my estimations, and I hate it when characters that I really like go down in my estimation. I still love her, and I think Julia Goulding is brilliant, and I am so thrilled that she is getting a big story, and it's not turned into a big passionate affair or anything yet. I don't know whether it's going to, but I was disappointed when she knocked on that hotel door room again. I was like, come on, Shona.
I've just got into the soap frame of mind where it's of no reflection of anyone's morality when they have an affair. It just feels like soap morality is just on a different plane of existence.
I mean, you're right. People in soaps are a little bit more loose with their knickers, aren't they? But
it's funny that maybe that's
count
what is
people...
keeping Underworld in business.
Yeah, maybe.
The loose elastic.
Yeah, maybe that
of Weatherfield.
Yeah, that explains how a clothing manufacturing company
can stay in business.
Can stay in business after all these years. Do you think that? I mean, David is going to find out, isn't he?
Of course he is, and he'll be really sad.
Will he forgive her? Should he forgive her?
Yeah, he will, because he knows she's a good catch. She's hot.
I think we might have had this discussion last week, possibly, and I think that maybe if it was just a one-off,
such great hair.
One-off, maybe he could have done. But if she does, get into a torrid, steamy love affair with him, I think it's going to be very difficult. But seriously, keep them together, Shona and David.
Yeah, I want them to stay together.
Is anybody really shipping Kit and Shona?
The thing
is, David and Shona are top caliber Corrie couple.
My worry is that if they do split up, then Shona's adrift, and I don't know what her place is.
Yeah. Exactly. She's like we were saying one of the pros of Daniel is that he's in the Barlow, and if you latch yourself onto him, you're in for some good stories over the years. The same if you're a member of Platt Chat, you're in there. You might not have the big soap magazine front cover, and Shona certainly never has that, but you're going to be guaranteed a certain number of appearances each year, aren't you?
Well, I mean, has Jesse been added to the Platt Chat yet? We're not really sure.
I can't remember.
I think he did get added.
Can we just talk about
kicked off?
Oh, can we talk about that thing that they put on social media the other day? That was brilliant, wasn't it?
I've just spoiled it now.
You did watch the video, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was great. Watch the video.
Yeah. So on the Coronation Street social media, they put exclusive clip from Platt Chat, and it was a conversation between, I can't remember who was on it now. Was it Nick, Gail, David, and they were just talking about, Gail was talking about, can Jesse be added to Platt Chat, and I can't remember what the whole conversation. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. It was funny. Yeah. And then Gail gets booed off at the end, but that was a really nice little extra thing. The social media team on Coronation Street are really doing a fab job at the moment with all the extras. These director's notes that they're putting on as well. We talked about it before, didn't we? About what was the other scene that they did? I don't remember. But this week, that director, I can't remember his name. I didn't recognise. They put up a commentary of a Leanne and Toya scene when they're on the phone, and it was just brilliant. It was so fascinating when he was saying, here it's zooming out, and this one's zooming in to show that Leanne is taking control.
But this is what I was saying about
it's so clever. All this invisible. Unseen. Yeah, it's totally invisible.
When you're watching it, because you're fluent in the language of what they're showing you, and there's uncertain, unspoken, unacknowledged rules that you understand. Like when two people are having a conversation, you show them from the side. You never swap sides.
Yeah.
Even though you're an omniscient viewer and you can go wherever you want, you would never swap sides so people are both the same side of the screen, because that would confuse everybody.
Sometimes you think, and I don't know, maybe some directors are more guilty of this than others, that when they're filming characters, they just kind of move the camera wherever they want because you don't want a still camera. But the way that this guy was talking about, this is why I've zoomed in here, and here I wanted this camera in the centre, it is really fascinating, and it's so cool that they've put these 3 videos up. Sadly, the one that they put out recently, which was all about the barrister at Rowan's trial, they said this is the 3rd and final one. But they did say that they've had lots of really good feedback about it, so I'm hoping we're going to get some more.
Well, this is what I was saying about the Tony Warren Awards is great because it acknowledges the work that's done behind the camera, but it only ever gets given. I don't even know if they're bringing it back because it's for the Soap Awards.
But the Soap Awards are coming back.
I know, but will they have the Tony Warren Awards? But anyway, to continue my point, it's only ever for one person in all the soaps every year. And there are I've said this before, if you want people to take soap seriously, you need to take them seriously yourself. And I know that it's boring, but the Oscars has all this stuff as well. Like, best direction, best directed scene. Something that recognises that there is artistry behind the cameras.
I think if somebody has decided they're not interested in the Soap Awards, which a lot of people have said, I don't care about the Soap Awards, I think throwing in a few extra behind the scenes ones isn't going to do much to make them say, you know what, soaps can be really highbrow.
Not necessarily, but it might sort of show, I still think it's a good idea. I also think that it's going to help foster talent. When you're watching it and you're inspired as a child, you're going to think, I could do that. Like, when I was younger, I never thought I could be a film director. I would love to be a film director. I would love to have thought about that. But because when I thought about television, when I thought about direction, I always thought about films. I'd never once really ever considered what it would be like to be a director of, like, soaps or TV. It never even crossed my mind that was anything. It just felt like a very kind of by the numbers, here's this scene, blah blah blah. You don't need to be a great artist to be able to pull that off. But if you're a young child watching it and seeing people being celebrated, maybe more people would go into it.
Maybe, but again, I'd also say how many children watch the Soap Awards.
Loads of people watch the Soap Awards. Loads of children watch soaps with their parents still and their families. And imagine if they're sitting there and the granny's going, "Oh, I watched the thing about the director. I recognise that name."
Yeah, maybe.
I know you say it's not important, but a lot of these things you don't know what's going to be important. And it's not just about inspiring young people. It's about recognising talent and fostering talent and appreciating what you've got.
Yeah, well, you got old Lego Jack, haven't you? Who made those Corrie Lego creations
Jack.
6, 7, 8 years ago, whenever it was. He's working behind the scenes at Corrie now, so
yeah.
He saw something in Corrie and wanted to do it, and they saw something in him, and now I'm a little bit jealous of him.
You're always jealous of people that work in Corrie, but remember, we're going to be living in France, and we can't go and work in Manchester.
We're not. We're going to go and move to Manchester. We're moving to Manchester. That's our France.
If only France was closer to Manchester.
And look, we digress again. So anyway, Shona's there. Because I can't bring myself to talk about Shona going to visit horrible slimy Kit, but he lets her into the hotel room.
Do you really, really hate Kit? I admire him for like how he's like, to me, he's like the female Tracy.
No,
yes.
I said last week, I just don't think he's got the charm. I don't.
I do.
I don't see it.
Tracy was slimy. It's because she was a sexy lady, but she was,
maybe that's why I'm more interested in Tracy, because she's a sexy lady, and I'm not really interested in sexiness of Kit.
Oh, maybe that's why I think Kit's more interesting.
Maybe it is. Maybe we're discovering something. about you.
Maybe.
Anyway, look, he's not invited you into his hotel
How tall
room.
was he again?
It's Shona.
6'4"?
It's Shona. She's like, he says, well, what do you want? I don't know anymore, she says. And he says, well, in that case, go home. This is clearly not what you're after. And she's like, you're right. I can't do this. Thanks for being cool about it. I'm going to tiptoe back. She doesn't do anything, but she was thinking of it.
She doesn't open that bean pod.
Yes. And then this is when we see her later on getting back into the dark lounge at number 8, and she's cradling this bloodied arm. Now, we've already been totally mishmashed up with our stories, and we know everything that was going on there. But I thought that was really cool. It was one of these moments in Coronation Street where you're like, am I supposed to know something that's happened here? And sometimes that doesn't work. You literally are made to
You're
think,
just confused.
I think has something happened and I totally missed it. But I didn't get that here.
No,
they made enough
well
of
done.
it. They were able to, I don't know what they did, but they made me think clearly something has happened.
Something's afoot.
And it also was something that we
It's
thought
'cause it
we're probably
happened.
going to find the answer to what it is pretty soon. And if this is... this was along the same lines of the Deerings on Wednesday saying, oh, if only Max knew what we were up to. It's just a little bit of a mystery that's got us talking and wondering and theorising. And maybe this is a Kate Brooks thing, or maybe it just so happens that there's a couple of them this week. But I really, really appreciated how they did this. And it's so unexpected as well. You know, throwing things in. Sometimes you can see where a story's going, or you're not going to know exactly every turn in the road, but... Yeah, I know. Abby has got much to say about this.
Abby doesn't want to live in France.
Yeah, she has to go into quarantine for however many months. I love it when they throw in little unexpected things. Maybe it was in the previews in the magazines, I don't know. But when something completely off the wall like that happens, that's what grips me. So, yeah, love that moment.
But can I just point out, wasn't there another episode, even though this wasn't the beginning of the episode, another day that began with Shona stumbling around in the dark, having done something nefarious. This is when she hit the car.
This is a few years ago when she accidentally ran over Todd.
Yeah. So, you know, what goes around comes around.
I totally got shades of that when I was watching it this week.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Anyway, great stuff. So,
how do you like it? How do you like karma?
Next morning, she's still got her bad arm. She's desperately trying to hide it, but
it's obvious.
It's
really
obvious
painful.
that she's in pain here. And David sees it, and he says, "Well, what's going on?" "Nothing," she says. It's fine. I just fell down the stairs in the middle of the night." And he's like, "You must have fallen down the stairs really, really quietly, Shona, because I didn't hear a thing."
He's like, "I know what it sounds like when someone falls down those stairs."
Yeah, exactly. I pushed my mum down the stairs, remember? It makes a right clatter.
And she was fine. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that...
It's not even
tall,
a full
you weakling.
flight because it's got a little turnaround in the middle.
Anyway, he's like, this looks like a hospital job. So they go off to Weather General, and she finds out that it's been fractured in 2 places. She's going to need a cast. And it looks like that, well, at the end of the day, it's drawn the pair of them closer together. So all's well that ends well, and they're having a little chuckle together. Because that is what I like about David and Shona. The fact that they have a good laugh together.
They do have a good laugh together.
Daniel and Daisy don't have a good laugh together.
This is what
I
I
think
mean.
they're good.
Daniel has no sense of humour, but then I don't think Daisy does either.
No.
There's a difference between being able to laugh at jokes that are funny and being able to make jokes, and I don't think Daisy or Daniel really are that good at. But then nobody on Corrie really is these days.
Apart from David and
Yeah.
Evelyn. Well, find out who our nominees for Top Laugh Award, Right Laugh Award, next week in the Conversation Street Awards.
Difficult one.
That was a difficult one to come up
Who's
with nominations
funny?
this year. Anyway, get home later from the hospital just as Gail and Jesse are returning, and Gail has another. It was another great week for just scenes that were like, oh, this was a scene that was. There were shades of Gail's monologue, but she wasn't really saying anything, was she? She stands outside number 8 and just looking around, and I can't remember what. There was one little moment she sees. Oh, she sees Evelyn chasing Steve out of the shop. I think
it was.
There was Michael's and Ed swinging Glory down the road.
You can imagine them cutting that and then turning it into an advert for Coronation Street, and they're just playing it in the middle of something else.
Yeah, it was her kind of watching as other stories went on, which is a rare thing in Coronation Street.
Coronation Street, it's right up my street.
Exactly, but she says, you know what? Maybe I should go to France. Or words.
She's
to
like,
that
I
effect
can't be bothered
anyway.
with this. She's thinking to herself, this reminds me of the beginning of Beauty and the Beast, when Belle's walking around the village and there are all those colourful...
Weatherfield.
Yeah, all those colourful rural folk up to their funny little antics. Maybe if I went to France, I could find something like that. Like, just exactly the same as it is here.
Exactly.
Funny working class people up to little hijinks.
She realises that life goes on, and actually, Weatherfield would just carry on if she wasn't there anymore.
Well, it has been so far.
Well, yeah, we've barely seen
Where
her
have
in
you
the
been?
last decade, have we? So, yeah.
Also,
let's have a crack at France, she says.
I'm gonna betray my country folk here, but we all know this is true. Better bakeries. Our bakery's gone to hell here.
Absolutely.
And I blame
bakeries
Greggs.
in France. Yeah.
I blame Greggs because
They don't have cream horns over there, I tell you.
they don't even have sausage rolls.
Look, Gail declares that they're going to buy the villa. It's all set.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Yeah.
Au revoir.
Wednesday, au revoir, Gail. Wednesday, Gail gets all the family together and tells them, big news, everybody. You know me and Jesse are getting married, right? And also, do you remember the fact that everyone was banging on last year about how nobody watched Christmas Day Coronation Street? We have got the ratings winner right here.
Yep.
We are going to be getting married on the 25th of December. Like it or lump it.
We've
It's good enough for
decided
Claire and Ashley. It's good enough for me.
to save Christmas Coronation Street.
This does seem to be that. I really hope for Coronation Street's sake it does do well on Christmas Day. It's not going to beat EastEnders because it never does.
This is
But
like the
come
only
on.
logical reason why Gail is getting married on Christmas Day is because she's like, I want to get the ratings up.
I think it is. I think that
Because
was a
there's
big.
no reason at all. It makes no sense. Nobody in their right mind gets married on Christmas Day,
I
apart
hope.
from Jesus, which is why we celebrate. But
Oh, do you remember David's line this week? What did he say? It's bad enough having your birthday on the same day as the Messiah.
yeah, that's right. Because it's David's birthday. It's also Rosie's whose birthday? is it?
Rosie is 24th, I think.
Okay.
It's like, seriously, Gail, it's very tone deaf to announce that you're getting married on Christmas Day.
Gail.
And I know it's all about you when
Gail
you're
has
when you're
to
getting
make-
married, but come
Gail
on.
Gail cannot stop herself from trying to make Christmas Coronation Street about herself.
One year she's given birth.
One day she's getting a
Next
baby,
she's
getting married. Like, come on, love, let
and
Jesus
that's
have a
probably
turn.
about it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I cannot wait. Where are we going to be on Christmas Day? We're going to be at Mum and Dad's house, aren't we, this year?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to be there. We've been had
And
our...
also, it's
actually,
not being
no.
shown
Isn't it?
before. No.
Are they not putting it on early in the morning?
No.
I've not seen this.
No. It's
They
gonna
did
be
last
played,
year.
It's going to be played at 8 o'clock or whenever it is.
Oh.
for
To be
us all
honest,
to
I was
enjoy
kind
together.
of hoping that we'd be able to watch it in the morning before we went to your
That
Mum and
goes
Dad's.
to show it's a proper ratings grab, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because don't forget, one
I
of the
really
main
hope it's going to be a
reasons-
good episode.
One of the main reasons why it didn't get in the top 10 at Christmas was because it was shown beforehand. It was available to watch from 7 o'clock in the morning, and therefore the figures didn't count. Well,
I think they do these days.
No,
I
no,
don't
they
think that-
didn't. No, they didn't. On the day, they didn't count it. Then they added it in. If you recall,
Oh
I'm
yes, that's
surprised
what
you
it
don't
did. They
remember
added it in,
this.
and then it made it into the
It
top 10.
made it into the
end,
top
didn't
10,
it?
but
Yeah.
nobody reports that today.
This is definitely a ploy for ratings driving.
I can't believe they.
Well,
do
also,
something
you got-
like
there's-
this.
there's gotta-
trying to get people to watch the show. What?
There's also got to be some proper Battersby action, isn't there? Because when Nick's
I
coming,
not.
Nick's
I don't
coming
wanna watch
back
that at
from
Christmas.
Nick's coming back from Tenerife on the 23rd, isn't he? So that's gonna surely be he's
Oh,
gonna
Nick
be
and
walking
Toya.
into a whole
Nick
what?
and Toya are going on holiday together.
No, Toya's not going anymore, is she?
But I thought that Sam. I thought he was going to get out of it and take Toya anyway.
I think, as far as we know at the moment, Nick is going with Sam.
Well, that he's just not trying hard enough then.
Well, whatever. I've really got high hopes for Christmas Day Coronation Street this year. I hope that the wedding's lovely. Come on,
Anyway,
Coronation Street, you can do it. Anyway,
That's not the only
I'm
news.
thrilled about this news. David is pretty narked. So's Audrey. She's a bit.
Well, no, hang on. You've missed this.
What?
There are 3 bombshells in this scene.
What?
Number 1, me and Jesse getting married on Christmas Day. Number 2, we're going to go and live in France. Number 3, Harry is new. He's a new
yes! Yes, there's a new Harry, isn't there?
man. Don't look him in the eye directly because that will give it away.
Carter J. Murphy
Suddenly,
is the
a
new Harry
raven-haired
Platt.
oik
Yes.
stealing money.
We'd seen beforehand that that there was going to be a new Harry. We I think it was posted on social media that day. I think it would have been fairly obvious because he is nothing like the old Harry. The old Harry, he was a special boy, wasn't he? He was very cute.
Well, he was adorable.
Yeah.
He had such a cute... He looked like a hobbit. He had that... Do you know the cute...
You know what? You're right. He did.
The cute faces. I'm thinking of in... was it Samwise's children in the
Ask me. I've not
Lord
seen
of the
beyond
Rings?
the
Because
Fellowship of the Ring.
those 2 children, I'm fairly sure, were the most adorably stinking cute kids with big, beautiful eyes and a kind of... And Harry was the same.
Old Harry was very, very cute.
He was
but
just
I'm
for the
gonna
grannies,
say,
wasn't he?
I'm gonna say they did need to recast him. And I think that this new boy
gives me shades of shine your shoes, Governor. He's like he's very stagey, like,
oh yeah, he is
project
stagey.
my voice so you can hear me in the back.
He was great. I mean, it was a bit bizarre because he had this one and only scene, didn't he? Which involved him pinching £20 off of something. I kind of didn't even pay attention to what he was doing with that because I thought, well, they'll explain it later when he's in it again. But that was the last that we saw of it.
No, he's been at the cash stash.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, that's where he got it from.
Oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense. But anyway, I thought he was great.
He was definitely. Do you know what I mean? He was definitely like doing a good projection.
I am very, very happy that the role of Harry is in safe hands, and you can't always tell straight away. But equally, sometimes you can go, okay, they've just recast them. Maybe they'll grow into the role. But I honestly thought that this new boy, for the 2-3 lines that he had. Yeah, I think they got a good catch.
You can tell the difference. There. Like the younger actor, when he said his lines, it's like he's saying them to the person sitting next to him, or like to his mum.
Yeah.
But this was like, I know I'm performing, and I know that I'm not sure the other Harry knew he was on TV.
Yes, that's a very kind way of saying it. Well, maybe.
But I think that's adorable. Same as Dorian. Or Dorian, or whatever his name is. Doris. He was the same though. It's like he's got no conception of what he's doing. But that's what made him so adorable.
Yeah, but the difference is that Doran's only about 2 years old. Once you get to a certain age,
you have to be able to look like you're not just been brainwashed and kidnapped and given to the ITV.
So Harry Platt is 8 years old, maybe 7, 8, 9. I can't remember. And Carter is 10, I think, maybe. He's like a year and a half older than Harry anyway, which I think is acceptable. Because, we got Betsy at the moment, who's played by a woman that's 7 years her senior or something like that. And I don't always like it when they cast too old. I mean, we all, Jack Webster is what happens when you do that. But I think that I'm happy with this casting. I was just a bit disappointed we didn't get to see him beyond this one scene, to be honest. I'm looking forward to seeing... They're going to have to be giving him something important to do, otherwise they wouldn't have recast him.
So the actor who plays Harry is 10.
I think so.
Blue Ivy's 12. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, you showed me.
I
didn't. I learned who Blue Ivy was this week.
Couldn't cast her as a 10-year-old, could you?
No, you certainly couldn't. Okay, anyway, very good debut. You like him?
I said I'd liked him about a million times.
As well. Good. So, moving on from that, because Corrie wanted us to move on from him, because the story wasn't about him.
I know you said sometimes you think, they cast him because they're going to do something with him. Yes, but also, what has Ruby done? She did a song.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Ruby's done nothing.
We was really excited when Ruby was recast because... we were looking forward to her having a bigger role in some of the stories, and she just hasn't. And that's just fair enough. But I'm just saying, don't make false expectations of.
But I suppose the difference
character.
is that Ruby, we did kind of see her every now and then before, and we do kind of see her every now and then now. Harry, we never see, do we?
No.
He was
myth.
The man, 2 or 3 appearance a year kind of kid, and I'm thinking that we're going to see him a little bit more now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I think that Coronation Street is like a government psyop to try to convince young people to have more children. Because if you watch Coronation Street, you're like, it's no big deal. You have a baby, you see him 3 times a year, and then when they get to about 15, they start having their own stories. That's fair enough with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was good acting. When he was caught with the money, he was like, deer in the headlights.
Sorry, Governor.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. Why are you saying that?
That makes me laugh. Right,
David. He definitely looks like he could play an Oliver.
David's like, that money there, that is the money I've been saving for Shona's present. For sure. And then Jesse's like, yeah.
Oh, yes,
that's definitely where that's from.
Right, okay. Yeah, and this is why they try and get rid of it at the end of the episode, don't they? Because he's been sitting on this money for a few months now, and I was wondering whether they might... I knew they hadn't forgotten it, but I was wondering what they were going to do. No, you wouldn't have, would you? Anyway.
I would just buy really expensive food.
David goes off in a huff because he doesn't want...
Well, no, he's saying, look, how come why are you going to live in France... when you could have used the money to pay off the bridging loan and kept this place.
Yeah, exactly.
I
He's
don't
like,
care
you know
now.
what, I'm past
I'm off.
caring, heads off to work, doesn't he? Later on, Gail's telling Sarah and Audrey about how excited she is about all of this. That was a really nice scene, just the three Platt generations together. But you start to get a feeling that Audrey's none too pleased with the fact that she's going to be losing a daughter. She's trying to put a brave face on it, but yeah, she's not so happy. Adam later sees Shona in the cafe, and she tells him this falling down the stairs story that she's been peddling, and he clearly doesn't believe her, saying, well, and so she has to kind of admit to saying that, yeah, you're right, fair cop, I did get clipped by an out of control car the other day. And he says, well, you should be reporting this. And this is when they go to the station, and then they come out later, and then Kit and Craig are talking about it, and Craig's like, I will find who did this, and Craig and Kit's trying to shut him down. Anyway, they come back later. David sees Shona getting out of a car with Adam. I missed this, I was typing my notes, but did you say that she gives him a bit of a peck on the cheek?
Who?
As a thank you, Shona to Adam.
Yes.
So David had already had his suspicions raised the previous week about the fact that maybe they've got it on. Adam said no, but this is just going to be sitting there ruminating. I think that we're going to see more of David's suspicion of Adam in the coming weeks.
Adam is Shona's brother-in-law.
Adam is Shona's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Why is this?
Because he was married to Sarah, and Sarah is David's sister.
That's true, yes. How could we forget it? Well, then it's just incestuous and wrong.
She's like, I couldn't have an affair with you. I'd have to have an affair with someone else. Like, maybe a policeman who's got no relation to anybody.
Apart from Paul, for some reason.
But he's dead, so it doesn't count.
Right, so Jesse sees David in the salon later, and he says, look, you need to be supporting your mum more in this. I love her. I want your blessing. I've been keeping your secret.
So do me a solid.
Exactly. He says, I got a proposition. What was David's response to that? He's like, I can't remember. It was probably like, you're going to get down on one knee. I don't remember what he says, but it was
something
hilarious.
Sarcastic.
Anyway, Jesse says, this house that we're buying in France, it needs renovating.
Because, for some reason,
it's a fixer-upper.
French people love to paint their living rooms bright red.
Do they?
It seems to be quite a thing.
Well, there we go. We need to make it more English looking. We need to make everything magnolia from tip to toe.
We've got to make it all grey and plush grey and mirrored furniture.
He says, look, if you give me the Damon money, I'll give you the divorce settlement in cash, and you can use it as a deposit for number 8. And David's like, oh, I'm not really sure about it.
I really don't understand why this is necessary or what's going on here, but I'm just going to
very
trust Jesse.
laundery. I'm going to trust Jesse. He seems like a...
He's a children's entertainer, so he's up to no good.
They're all at it, aren't they? Don't tell
Ryan
Russell.
They're not all doing money laundering.
No.
Some of them are up to much worse things.
And some of them are just pure.
Who are you referring to that's pure?
Michaela Strachan.
Oh, I love her. She would never do anything.
And Ryan Russell.
Love him.
Right, so anyway, Jesse asked David again about this at home in the evening. He says, look, this is a chance for you to get out of a hole. I'm not talking about the sink one in your garden. You're throwing it back in my face. So David's like, oh, fine, okay. So they have a sneaky meeting around the back of number 8 at the end of the episode. David brings out the money in the hold all. They stick it into a bag for life.
Why did they need to do this? Why couldn't he just given him the bag?
I thought that it was all part of the money laundering. I don't know.
I don't think you physically have to move the location of the money from one bag to another bag.
They did. I'm sure they talked about it, but I can't remember what the reason was. Anyway, it
felt like
for
it was
plot
just
reasons. It was
visually symbolic of what they were up to, right? That's all they did that for.
For plot reasons, it gave David the chance to put the bag in the bin and discover Shona's ripped leather jacket inside there.
Hang on a minute.
Which was a ridiculous thing for her to have done. Why? Like in today's episode, she tries to put the bin bag on top of it.
Which is too late now.
It was too late now.
Put it in the bin bag.
If you know you've... Maybe she was lying there
Throw it in another
in
bin.
the middle of the night and go, oh damn, I've fallen into that same soap character trope of putting something that's supposed to be secret at the top of the bin. How I'm so dumb. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up really early in the morning and sneak the bin bag in there. But unfortunately for her, who was it that she caught trying to put the bin out early? It was Max, wasn't it? And she's like, no, I'll do it.
So David takes a holdall.
Yes.
And takes the money from the holdall and puts it into a bag for life.
Yes.
And then throws the holdall away.
Yes.
Because you can't throw a bag for life away because that's for recycling.
Right.
But you can throw a holdall away.
Yes. So get Jesse's
Why
got
is
the
he
money.
throwing the hold all away? Why did anything need to go in the bin?
So that he could find Shona's leather jacket.
Couldn't he have just had a can of Coke that he wanted to put in the bin?
I think it's probably, it might be linked to the crime. I think that this money, this bag, was possibly was property of the Hay family.
Well, you got to remember, can't just throw it in the canal.
Things get dragged up there. We know this.
Stu will find it and
Right.
come back. You don't want that to happen.
Oh yeah, bags in the canal. You're right. Anyway, Friday rolls around, and it's Gail's hen do later. A little bit on the early side, maybe.
Well, we had ours lots of on Coronation Street. They always have it the night before, which is when you're supposed to have it.
Yeah,
but
actually, for
like
practical reasons,
too much fuss and.
Well, maybe that booth in the Rovers has been booked up solidly between now and the 25th of December.
Well, it's festive. There's loads of stuff. You can't have it Christmas Eve, can you?
Well, she should just have it in the bistro. Get Nick to rent her out of place. I don't know. So anyway,
he's not there.
They're doing this quiz. Sarah's prepping a quiz for the hen do, a Gail themed quiz, getting David to put some questions in it. And then as they're chatting there, Shona comes out of the house and she don't want to talk to David. He kind of calling her down the road, but she's like
busy. You've got to go to work.
Scurrying off because she's still feeling a little bit guilty about Kit, isn't she? So David's in the salon with Audrey later, and good news, his mortgage approval comes through. So he's now able to buy number 8, and the Platts can continue ownership of that property from now until the end of time.
Living the millennial dream.
Yes. It's...
What?
I'm just thinking, yeah...
What?
Maybe I've said before that maybe it is time for a change and a different family move in, but...
No.
They wouldn't be as good,
Barlow's
was
at
they?
number 1, Platts at whatever house that is.
8. Number 8.
It's irrelevant.
But, Emily moved out of number 3 in the end, didn't she?
Yeah, but Emily didn't have a family.
Okay, anyway, so everything's going to turn out fine in
Norris
the end.
doesn't count.
Anyway, David used to own that house anyway, didn't you, a couple of years ago?
Exactly.
Anyway,
we're going to buy a house. Great.
Yeah, Audrey's not in the mood for the hen do, but it starts anyway a bit later on. Who knows what time of the day it is? As we said, it's fairly nebulous what time it is any point of the day in Coronation Street. Eileen is there. Now, I'd been thinking before today that they've really, really missed a trick with how little Eileen's been used in this Gail and Jesse story, haven't they?
Yeah.
When we heard that Jesse Chadwick was coming back into the show, we thought, oh, brilliant. It's gonna spur up the rivalry again, exactly. But they've made next to no use of it. But I guess it makes sense because with all these rewrites, they didn't have time to add in anything unnecessary.
Because she would not have cared one bit if
Gail was marrying Martin, exactly. So I think that's the reason why.
Also,
is literally they wanted to keep it as close to the original scripts as they could.
But equally, Eileen and Gail have not been in it.
No.
So how could they argue?
Yeah, but
they could have put in a few lines where Sarah's like, God, I had to get out of the pub because Gail and I were just pulling each other's hair out.
I'm really glad that they did take the opportunity in tonight's episode to revisit it, though. It was hilarious.
Eileen is such a cow here.
She really was.
She was being really rude.
She was originally going to go home, and then when she realises that this quiz is coming on, she can't resist the opportunity to get in a few digs in there.
She's just heckling the answer, funny answers.
It was so fun. I think... I'm going to say they could have drawn it out for a little bit longer.
I would have liked this scene to be longer, but there's only so much you can do.
Because they had that question, as we earlier on the podcast discussed, ranking Gail's ex-husbands in order of height, and Eileen gives this wonderful line about it's probably Martin Platt because he's still the only one that's not 6 feet under.
And I literally covered my hand and my mouth with my hand. I was like,
what was the other thing that she said?
I can't remember, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back, wasn't it? Because Gail gets up, doesn't she?
Yeah, she gets up and she goes to...
she says...
Oh, no, the other thing that Eileen was saying was... that I enjoyed was, can Gail's hen party really count as a special occasion? She's had enough of them. It was really good, but yeah, I think a couple more scenes of it would have been good. Yeah, Gail gets up and she's going to throw a glass of water over Eileen.
Yeah,
and
Eileen's like, I'll throw my prosecco on you if you do that. And then they both stare at each other, and then they both take a sip of their own drinks, which I thought was just Mwah. What a perfect.
It was a very
visual
nicely directed
joke.
moment, but I think I'm going to be a bit sad if they don't
At least have one fight.
I don't even know whether it needs to be a fight,
Or
but
just
they
some
really need a
physical-
slanging match or something.
Or a slap.
In
or
the
a-
next few weeks before the wedding. I'd really, really want to see that.
I was so
but-
excited that she was going to throw that water over Eileen.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Audrey's there at the quiz, not really enjoying herself, is she? Because she's getting a bit sad about Gail leaving, and
Well, she makes it about herself, doesn't she?
She does, and then in the end, David
feel
goes
ill.
and
I've
takes
got
her
to go
back home again. Well, she says I'm ill, but I'm going to stay, and then she's apparently changed her mind later after.
She seems to like. I was getting really worried she was having a heart attack, to be honest.
I was wondering that as well at one point.
But then Gail's already had a heart attack, so that'd just be copying, wouldn't it? It'd be like if two people had sepsis in the same year. That'd be silly.
Never happen. Anyway, so David and Audrey go back home, and he says to her, "Look, there's nothing wrong with you, is there? You just don't like the idea of Mum and Jesse moving to France." And she's like, "Yeah, it's true. I'm not ill now, but I will be one day. Gail's going to be miles away." Was this too selfish of Audrey, or does she deserve to feel this way?
She's telling this to David, and she's not just unburdening herself without being prompted. She was asked, and she's decided to stop hiding her feelings. I think it's fair that she's what's the point of having family if you can't tell them how you're feeling? She's not telling Gail not to go, although I think she's been angling all this episode for a two-hander at Christmas with her and Gail going over their relationship. But I think this is what you have a family for, to sort of share your feelings and emotions and work through them and everything.
I don't know. I think that Gail. I think that Audrey's been a bit.
This is why I wouldn't want to leave my family.
I don't have a problem with it, because I think Audrey is quite selfish deep down.
I don't think it's selfish to be sad that your daughter's moving to a different country when you're elderly.
But she's making noises like, you shouldn't go, Gail. And I think that Gail, as little as I would like to do it, I think this is a wonderful opportunity. And I think if as a mum, if she can see that her daughter is about to marry this lovely man and have this wonderful fairy tale happy ending in the south of France, you've got to. I think that you've got to stay quiet about it. But Audrey, like I said, is very selfish, and she's all through her life she's made things about her.
But they're a close family. Look, I think this is very interesting because I think we both have different attitudes to family. You moved away from your family, and I wouldn't.
Yeah. Your family are 5 minutes down the road.
I see my
parents
dad
lives 3 hours away.
About twice a week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dream of deciding to move without talking to them. And I know that they would be like, "Oh no, you must, go," but they would be really sad.
Yeah,
Gail,
I suppose so.
This is a really close family.
All families in Coronation Street, are relatively close, aren't they? Because they all live in each other's pockets. No, I can see both sides of it, but I think that Audrey needs to.
Audrey does need to
support the decision.
But I think it's not totally unfair for her to say, "This really hurts me. I'm going to miss her so much." She's only just lost Stephen last year. Her only son died, and now her only daughter is going to live. And when I think of going to live in France, to me, I'm always thinking north of France. I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's a day. You leave in the morning, you'd be there in the afternoon. If you live in Manchester and you're moving to the south of France, you're crossing 2 countries to get somewhere.
But you can fly, can't you? Audrey can, if she can afford to live in Grasmere Drive, she can afford a plane ticket.
All right.
And like David said, moving to another country isn't the same as it was, 10, 15 years ago in terms of communication. She can still FaceTime her.
I felt really bad for Audrey.
Or as they say in France, visage.
Visage temps.
Visage temps. That's weather, isn't it? Visage or
temps. Time.
Oh, yeah.
Time?
Oh, no, they just use Tom, don't they? Yeah.
Yes. I
can
do
speak
Duolingo.
French,
I've got an over 1,000-day streak on Duolingo. I'm on level 23.
Oh, sure. Why don't you move to the south of France with Gail or Jesse then?
Au revoir, I'm going. Je vais au français.
Okay, anyway, that's interesting. We've got a slightly different
voudrais
opinion on this.
vais.
What do you... Je voudrais aller en France.
Oh, there we go.
Avec le clan.
Oui, avec moi. I tricked you. You're going to France with me now.
Right.
What? What were you going to ask? You asked me a question.
No, I don't remember. So anyway, off. That's Gail. She's Audrey. She's got that off her chest. There's a few more bits of Kit and Shona flirting when she comes to pick up Max from the station later.
This is very difficult. I wonder if this is going to be a Kate Brooks thing too. Like lots of interweaving stories because for the past 6 years or whatever, we've been really spoiled on this podcast by having almost every week 5 stories that are so distinct that the characters in those stories will almost never be in a scene with anyone else.
Yeah.
This is kind of a bit of new territory here because people are talking to each other who aren't in the same story.
I know, it just makes it very, very difficult.
This has got to stop because
anyway.
it's too complicated for notes.
Anyway, there's a scene in the house later. Gail gets home and Audrey's still kind of wincing away about how... Well, no, she does seem to be a bit more in pain there, doesn't she? I'm trying to remember it now. I don't remember what it was like. Gail's a bit worried about her and Audrey says, look, I'm going to go and see a doctor. I'm going to be fine. I wonder whether Audrey is going to... You said you were worried about her having a heart attack earlier. I wonder whether...
Well, she had depression not that long ago.
Yeah, I suppose so. That is also something to consider when you're thinking about Audrey's feelings and her mental health and her upset. Is she going to revisit that dark place that she did a few summers ago?
And everyone's saying, David's trying to say to her, you got your grandkids, you got me, you got Sarah, you got Bethany or whatever. But the thing about it is that she's kind of used to Gail being single and having nothing to do. All the other people have got their own lives, David and Nick and Sarah have all got their own families and children and lots of busy work life and stuff. And then you've got like Bethany who up to all kinds of stuff. Whereas Gail and Audrey are both single women with nothing to do all day. They probably do spend a lot of time with each other.
Power walking through the countryside.
And now Audrey's kind of losing a friend and her daughter.
But I say that she should just hook up with Claudia again then, shouldn't she?
Frenemies.
Go and stay in Stillwaters with her.
But Audrey says, I'm going back to my house. I'm going home. And then she says, you never like to be too far from home, do you, when things don't feel right? It's kind of a dig.
Yeah. That was kind of it for that story, wasn't there? There was an interesting little scene at the end where George and Eileen are in the pub together and George kind of makes insinuations that he doesn't like the amount of time that she's spending in there.
Yes, this was interesting.
Go on.
Well, because you don't know whether he's going off her, finding it annoying that she's going off him.
Yeah.
Like, she avoiding him, she's spending time in the pub. Is she turning into an alcoholic? I hope not, because that's been done too many times.
I do not want Eileen becomes an alcoholic.
Or is she just fed up with him? Because they're really quite different from each other. They don't have many scenes where you see what the point of them being together is.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing to point out is that since Jesse turned up, George has really seen another side of Eileen that's very unpleasant, that he never saw before.
Yes, you're right, actually. They have just had a couple of bits like that, haven't they?
Like, well, she's just being fully proper, like, prime Eileen bitch.
Yeah.
And he's never seen her do that, really.
Yeah. So maybe 2025, we could be going into the end for George and Eileen. Or just having a little hiccup and they end up getting married by the end of the year. Could be either. Could be either.
And again, I don't know. Sometimes when a new producer comes in, they clean house a bit. They haven't done it for a while, but sometimes they'll go through and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, but we can't keep you on. Either Eileen or George could be, if they're going to axe somebody and they're leading into that, either of them could go. Because they've both been underused.
I would find it very sad to get rid of Eileen.
I would find it sad to get rid of George, but Eileen more so.
But I mean, Sue Cleaver has been, getting up to
Drifting
her own
away.
stuff recently as well, hasn't she? With her book and her...
And the other thing I want to point out that we haven't spoken about for a while, but it's always on my mind, is that YouGov survey that we talked about. And I don't remember whether we talked about it a lot on the podcast, but there was a YouGov, and there's been another one since, where they ask you specifically to rate characters by how much you like them. And I cannot think of a reason Well, there's two reasons you'd ask people that. One, to see who to make stories about, and the other one is to see who to get rid of.
But nobody's going to vote that they don't like Eileen or George. I think
I know,
they're
but if you've
relatively
got
popular
if you've
characters.
got a list of like 100 people said I like X and only 50 people said I like Y, and you've got a budget and you can only keep one.
Well, I'd go who's the most expensive one.
We don't know how
Off
it
you
works.
go, Barbara Knox.
I'm just pointing something out that's a behind the scenes thing, and I've got no reason to think either of these people are going anywhere. I'm just saying, in the back of my mind, and also Kate Brooks has said nothing about, I'm getting rid of a load of people. She's not said that.
She's not said anything about anything still, has she, really, yet?
No, she's been very quiet. But it would make sense, because we've been saying it, people online have been saying it. It seems like a thing to do would be to get rid of some people.
Yeah.
And so who knows?
Shall we blast through the other stories?
It's an unpleasant thing
here?
to think about, because I like both those characters.
Yeah. We're already a couple of hours into this podcast already, and we've still got,
Right.
3 more stories?
I'll tell you what's going on.
So Dee-Dee up the duff. Monday, what's going on here?
Well, as we know, Sarah is Dee-Dee's main confidant at the moment, because Sarah knows what it's like to have a baby with somebody that's wrong in.
That's a bit of a bad
So
guy.
Dee-Dee's like, I've got my first scan later. And Sarah's like, I'll go with her. So she turns up Sarah at the clinic waiting for Dee-Dee, but she never arrives. And she finds Michael. Sarah goes back home, finds Michael in the factory and says, where's Dee-Dee? Do you know where she is? I was supposed to meet up with her. And Michael says, she was supposed to be meeting Ed, but she never turned up. So she's worried now. They try phoning her, goes straight to voicemail. And then Sarah decides to say, I think she was acting a bit out of sorts. We should go and check on her. So they go and let themselves into Dee-Dee's flat, and Dee-Dee is in there. And she
She's having a
jumps
bit
out.
of a pyjama day, isn't she?
She jumps out and tries to attack them with an umbrella.
Should have been a crowbar.
I was going to say, if you'd used an umbrella on Joel, you would have solved a lot of problems, wouldn't you? For yourself.
Yeah, crowbar would have been a nice little inside joke for us.
She says, look, I just decided to have an early night. And Michael says, I don't believe you. There's something wrong. And Sarah says, Dee-Dee, just tell him. He'll understand. She's put in a bit of a Daniel there, isn't she? So, she does. She unburdens herself, explains everything, and she tells Michael that
It's going to be an uncle.
this was supposed to be her first scan. And Michael is very understanding and, again, uses very couched language to sort of give her permission to do
Did
as
he?
she...
What did he
Well, she
say?
says, he says to her, because she's talking about, I'm not sure about this, and he says, you need to trust yourself. He's not telling her what to do. If you compare this to what Billy had said, like, the baby didn't do anything wrong, do not have a termination.
Oh, yeah.
And now Michael, he's also Christian, I assume, because the Baileys are very religious.
No, I think that Dee-Dee's... I don't think that they are. I think they've kind of played with it a bit, but I think that Dee-Dee was supposed to have found God in LA.
No one finds God in LA.
Well, I think that's where we have
He
believed
does
that
not
she
live
did.
there. So, all right. Well, he says, trust yourself.
Maybe he was on his holidays there. Maybe he'd gone to Disneyland or something.
I should have gone to the Florida one. Right, that's no better, is it? So
I do hear that God's a bit more popular down in the south of America.
I don't know, throwing stereotypes around. But hey, you Americans started it. Right, so Dee-Dee has decided to tell Michael that she is going to terminate the pregnancy. And Michael says, whatever.
Do you think...
Good for you.
I
don't believe her.
Do you not?
No, I think she's going to do a Carla.
What do you mean?
Well, Carla was going to terminate a pregnancy, and she went and she just changed her mind.
It'd be difficult. I think it would be a really big decision for her. And you're right, she would definitely be having second thoughts right up until the last minute. But I just as a viewer, I don't need Dee-Dee to have a baby.
There have been so many times though recently where a woman has had a termination. I think it's really important to show a range of different experiences, because we had Amy, for example, never thought about it twice. She had it. She was fine. Didn't bother her at all. I can't remember exactly who I'm thinking of, but there have been other characters who have had that done and gone, I feel bad about this.
It was interesting.
I know, women, that's true to life. Some women don't make the decision with absolutely no second thoughts, and other women don't. And it doesn't mean that you've made the wrong decision.
It was interesting how the story completely drops off a cliff after Monday.
As far as we know, she's already had it done.
Yeah. Don't hang around, otherwise you'll change your mind.
The interesting thing is the inclusion on Wednesday of the Deerings. Now, if the Deerings get a
that's
sniff...
why I've put this together in the same story. There's a somewhat of a link between what happens on Monday and the rest of the week, and it's a Deering.
If the Deerings get a sniff of Dee-Dee's pregnancy, they are going to do what they can to convince her to keep it.
Yes.
And
then try and kidnap
and because
it.
Dee-Dee is kind of... I think... Because of her religious background, I think she would be more susceptible to convincing.
Yeah, I think
she could be emotionally blackmailed by them very, very easily to delay it till it's too late.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do what they pull a summer on her, kidnap her till she can't.
Yeah, I could do.
Have a termination. Anyway, Wednesday, Max is visiting Lauren in the prison, and she is... she's banging on about Mr. Doggy.
Mr. Doggy, Frankie's favourite toy.
Because for some reason, Max is going to take Frankie out of prison to go on a visit.
After all the trouble that Lauren went to getting Frankie in the mother and baby unit, she's like, "Oh, can you take him for a bit?"
Yeah. So he goes out, and I can't remember
Max
why.
goes
but
into daddy mode. I think she's saying that he needs to get a bit of fresh air and see life outside these four walls.
I think that if that's true, what they do that's really good, because I think it's only recently that people have really considered how much babies learn and understand. Well, I think people just for a lot of time thought babies was just a little crying meatloaf that didn't do anything for about 18 months, and then suddenly started doing interesting things. But the baby does need to see like grass and ducks and things, if possible.
So what the baby does is go on an elaborate prison break. Hijacks a van, hides out underneath it, blows it up, and then runs down to Weatherfield, where he picks up Max, or Max picks him up at agreed
No, he picks
meetings.
Max up in a car. Get in, loser. We're going to Disneyland. Anyway, so Mr. and Mrs. Deering pitch up at the cafe.
I have called them
Dee-Dee.
that in the notes because I forgot that she was called Anthea.
They see Dee-Dee and they're like, we're going to have a memorial for Joel's birthday tomorrow. You should come, please. And she's like, no. As they go outside, Max is so happening to be driving past in the getaway car with Frankie.
It's a buggy.
No, he's in the buggy. And they see him and they know...
Max isn't in the buggy.
Max is going, push me faster, Frankie! They see their grandchild for the first time. They know who this is. It's all very overwhelming, especially with Max, who's kind of a bit intimidated.
Well, yeah, they know. They say, well, we know that you didn't kill our son. I don't remember how much they know about how much Max was involved, because he did push his dead body over a bridge into
and
water.
Lied about it and let them worry.
Yeah, do they not know this? I can't remember.
Because
they must have known that he was arrested for it.
They must know. They would have been told.
Yeah.
But they're sucking up to him.
Because
he's got the baby.
Yeah.
So they're cooing over the baby, and then Gus, Mr. Deering, says, are you fostering him? And Dee-Dee says, no, he's staying with Lauren at the mother and baby unit in prison. And they're like, oh dear, that's not very good. Please, can we spend some time with him? And Max says, I need to ask Lauren. So he's on the phone and he asks her if that's all right. And she says, no. And he says, well, you need to think about it. What if I was there with them? Would you be all right with that? So she says, okay, that would be okay. So he tells them that's fine. And then when he goes, they're like, we must do our evil plan. Maybe we should tell him the truth. No, they would never have agreed. But what is the truth?
That's what I'm not sure about.
It can't be just we were going to get custody, because they didn't even know they didn't even really know where he was. How this must have started. This is a bit weird. I don't really understand. I think this is a bit.
This I enjoyed it because it added a little bit of mystery. I was
think
saying
they're
this
literally
earlier.
just talking about what they do next, but this makes no sense.
Was it a coincidental meeting in the street, or did they plan to accidentally bump into Max all along?
How could they have known that Max was going to have? There's no way they could have found that out.
Oh, yeah.
Because they wouldn't have been told. The prison wouldn't have told them. Oh yeah. The woman who murdered your son's baby will be walking along the road. Right.
So yeah, how can they possibly be plotting something? And even on Friday's episode, I'm kind of left at the end of it thinking,
make any sense.
What were they plotting here?
Yeah.
Go on, let's go on to Friday.
So on Friday,
we'll discuss it as we go.
The Deerings meet a solicitor in the cafe who is a custody expert. And Max comes in with Frankie at the same time, and they decide to go for a walk together. So when they get back to number 8, Lily tells Max...
Oh yeah, Lily was in it. I think all the Platts this week.
Gail's having an Irma.
Oh yeah, this is funny. We can work out what Lily was saying here.
Gail's having an Irma.
Gail's having a Irma.
Okay. What?
A hammer.
I worked it out.
You worked it out in the end.
Gail's having a
hammer.
Just put it through my translation. I'm also doing Duolingo Northern. Been doing that for about 12 years now.
We didn't say, talking Platts, we didn't say about the fact that they released a nice new promo picture of the Platts this week, did they?
Released a single. Yes, they did.
Yes, with Gail in the centre. And
they all looked fabulous.
Yeah.
They still looked like they were in separate places.
It was a completely composited shot, wasn't it?
Well, it seemed to be.
They were two. It looked like a socially distanced. Although when they did that picture, I think it was in 2020 for the 60th, and they had like the 5 most recent acquisitions to the cast and the 5 longest lasting ones. Do you remember that one? And they were clearly all composited together because they had to be because of social distancing. But that looked a lot closer than this, where they just decided to spread them out for no particular reason.
Do you remember they did that photo shoot where they all wore pink, all the women?
Yeah.
That was better than this because they did it in blocks.
Yeah.
But that was a magazine photo shoot.
Yeah.
So they went somewhere else.
I would have liked for this to have all been a bit closer together because it was like the the Joel photo in the police station a couple of months ago. That was all done composited, wasn't it? When it maybe didn't need to.
Just never looks right.
Yeah, it doesn't. But yeah, this it's a lovely picture. It's set in Chariot Square.
When are they going to release the cast photo?
When are they going to release the cast photo? That is the question. But I've seen some people complaining online that they didn't have the younger Platt members in there.
Well, one of them is a different one already.
Didn't have Harry or Lily in there, but oh well, what are you going to do?
Oh, it got so many comments, people going, oh, they're not even
Gail
on
looks
Platts.
lovely.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I didn't take the photo, so leave me alone. So,
question is, if Martin had come back for this story, would he have been in that photo?
No.
Can you really say? I know you're the originator of the Platt dynasty,
of Platts.
but you can't be in this photo because you've not been in the show properly for 20 years. That would have been a kick in the teeth, wouldn't it?
It would have been. Right, Gail's having an Irma, so
Max goes
has to
upstairs.
go and help her, and the Deerings get left alone with the baby, which they promptly kidnap to take to Joel's memorial. But Max doesn't know this. He comes downstairs, they are gone, he's running around looking, Shona comes trailing behind, and he's freaking out. This was Max unmasked today, because he reverted to that scary, emotional, angry, violent teenager that he got put in prison for being.
Yeah, he did have a few good shouting
He had a
sessions,
meltdown a couple of times.
Definitely a good few tears were shed in tonight's episode from Paddy.
He gets a text from them saying, oh, we've gone to the memorial. He was having a bit of a Paddy,
wasn't he?
He's fuming. Shona and Roy are like, well, you know where he is now. Don't forget you're on bail and don't get yourself in trouble. This is when Lauren then phones up and goes, how's everything going? Can you put me on the phone with Frankie? I'll tell him I love him. And he's there with tears streaming down his face, like, I have to lie.
Yeah, he does a Bernie and Gemma a Paul's deathbed moment here, doesn't he? When Billy thinks that he's talking to Paul, but actually he's dead. And Max makes Lauren think that she's telling Frankie that she loves him, but
she's
actually
not just telling Max.
He's just telling Max. Yeah.
Right, so Max goes and tells Kit. It's like, Frankie's been kidnapped, and then it comes out that it's the grandparents, and he knows where he is, and he's like, "Oh, it's not really a crime."
Kit's not bothered.
This
is a scene where Kit's getting his booty call from Daisy, isn't it? So he's got other things on his mind, quite frankly.
So, Deerings finally get back to number 8, and they say,
yeah, this is when the mask drops, doesn't it? They continue no pretense of being just
nice
friendly
anymore.
relatives.
They're like, things
have changed.
Things have changed. You can't take him back. And we don't know what's happened. We assume that it's because they've done some legal thing.
Yes,
and
that's
that
what we
now
thought
they've got
at first.
custody. But no, it's more sinister than that. Because in prison, Lauren gets told that there are bruises on Frankie, and they're investigating where the bruises have come from, and they think it might be from her. So the social worker arrives and takes Frankie away, and Max is like, "Lauren would never hurt Frankie." And then she's like, "Oh, so she only hurt fully grown men." And they head off, and they're like, "We're gonna apply for custody."
The Deerings,
yeah. And he's just freaking out. He's trying to get to the hospital, and the social worker won't give him a lift, which I thought was really tight. Anyway, Lauren's panicking and saying, "I didn't do this. I don't know why he's bruised and who did it, but it wasn't me." So Max goes to the cafe to talk to Roy about what's happened, and the Deering solicitor overhears, and he's like, "What's that? Custody problems? I'm a custody solicitor." And then Max realises that is what happened earlier, because he recognised him from meeting the Deerings.
Well, he says that he was supposed to be meeting up with the Deerings again later, and they didn't. So I thought,
they've gone to the hospital.
Are we supposed to get the impression that they were just using this guy to find out some kind of legal loopholes, and now they're dumping him?
You can't do that. You still need legal advice.
I hear that the rules around what you can and can't do with real and fake solicitors are quite loose in Weatherfield, as we discovered with Evelyn this week.
That is why he retracts his card from Max, because he can't represent Max, because he's representing.
I missed that.
Well, I'm telling you.
Okay.
So, this is when Max realises that they all along have been plotting to get custody, and he's freaking out about this. So he goes to the hospital and confronts them and starts screaming at them, saying that they basically accuse one another of bruising the baby. And they're like, "Oh, wow, we're glad that we took Frankie, otherwise we never would have found out about the bruises." And then they say, "You're going to jail because you're shouting at us." And he does indeed get in trouble.
Oh yeah, the security guard comes up and
he goes, No.
Talk to the hands him, doesn't he?
They're posh, you can't shout at them. So the social worker arrives and says
to see Lauren.
And they say, and the doctor says, "Frankie's with some nurses. We've investigated this. We don't think it was you. We don't think anyone hurt him. But there are marks. But we don't think it was caused by external trauma. And we're going to have to worry. We're going to have to worry about it.
Going to have to worry about it over the weekend because it's the end of the episode now."
They say they're running tests to find out what it is.
Yes. Oh dear.
Oops. Well, this could be a lot of very sinister things.
It could, but I'm in no mood for Frankie to have any kind of tragic baby.
Well, he's already, a
something else for
premature
Lauren
baby
to
that had
cry
a very
about.
traumatic birth.
Yeah, he's had that. He's been on death's door already since he's been born, hasn't he?
I just can't believe that anybody
why can't Lauren catch
behind
a break?
the scenes have been watching the episodes and seeing social media and gone, "No, we can't. We need more Lauren hospital scenes of her crying over Frankie's bed, because those were absolute,
TV gold. That was.
Everyone loved those episodes. We need more of those."
So I don't know what it is. You looked it up, didn't you? Didn't you say
I just say it could be leukemia.
Could it be leukemia? Could it be? I can't remember what else. I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon. But come on, Bennett, I'm not in the mood for this. I had been really into this story up until this moment. I think it's just Lauren's inclusion. Like, take Lauren out of the story, and you got a good little yarn there. It has just left me a little bit confused about what the Deerings were planning to do. Because Max, like the rest of us, assumed that maybe that they'd been, knocking Frankie about a bit, and that's where the bruises came from.
Why?
But what?
Just to make Lauren look bad.
Yeah, exactly. And then they could say if this was clearly Lauren or this was Max. No, yeah, I thought that while I was watching it actually. So what was their original plan? Like, they took it... Like, they were clearly plotting something on Wednesday. Were they just plotting to kidnap him away so that they could take him to the memorial without Max?
They just wanted to take him to the memorial, but when they saw the bruises, they just wanted to take him to the memorial. They were emotional. They weren't thinking logically. But then they saw the bruises and went, perfect. This gives us a reason that we can take the baby away.
It's very convenient for them that they have got a bruised grandson, then, that's all I'm saying. I'd hope that there's a bit more to their
Well, I'm confused about what you think's happened. Their long-term plan was to consult a custody solicitor, or whatever it is, and get custody of their grandson. The short-term plan was take him to the memorial. Because what the hell is Max going to do about it? Nothing. There's nothing he can do. Okay. He went to Kit and told him, and Kit was like, "What? It's not a crime, is it?"
Okay.
So they didn't really do anything wrong. The only thing they risked was alienating the person they needed to get access to the baby through, but they had a plan that they didn't need him. But the problem is, as far as I'm aware, because Norris Cole told me everything I need to know about this subject, that grandparents have no rights.
Oh yeah, when he was dressed up as Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
He still hasn't solved that problem, and now he's dead.
Are you inspired at all by this turn of events with the Deerings? Are you glad that Joel's legacy is living on?
I'm glad that they're turning evil. I mean, honestly, I don't think they're evil. I think they're actually sensible. And really, honestly speaking, can anybody watching this say that they shouldn't take custody of this poor child?
If I was in their shoes and I knew that Joel was a bit of a wrong un, my son, I still think that I would prefer to keep the kid myself, rather than being looked after by either his murderous mum in jail or, this, how old is Max? 18-year-old kid who's barely out of school himself.
He's got a criminal record. He's already proven that in a crisis, he loses his mind.
Yeah.
He shouted, he screamed, he cried, he had a meltdown. He lied, and he kind of messed up, really. And he also let himself get manipulated, and he left the baby alone with them when he told Lauren he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He failed at almost every possible level
But we're still supposed to be believing that they're the villains here. Because we're all on Team Lauren, aren't we?
Because Max and Lauren love him, and the grandparents are just evil manipulators who want to steal the baby. I mean, the only thing I can say that's not in their favour is that they're older.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me a bit of Granny Spellman.
Yeah, you're right.
Who's still alive.
Apparently so.
Outlived Paul.
So, speaking of grandmothers, let's do the grandmother-in-law story, which was Evelyn's little tale. That I didn't particularly enjoy how this started, but I very much loved the journey that it went through on Wednesday and Friday. Basically, the story on Monday is that Evelyn gets a backgammon set from Roy. It's an early Christmas present that she discovers early, and she thinks this is cracking. She loves a bit of backgammon, does
she? She takes it to the Rovers, and Steve pours beer on it, and then she gives it because I'm trying to speed it up.
Oh, I was talking. She takes him to the Rovers and Steve pours beer over it. And I thought that this was just a little bit of a dull side story, and I didn't realise it was going to be turning into something quite special. This was it Monday that Gail sees? Was this when she sees Evelyn squabbling outside the shop with Steve? I don't remember.
It's very important that you add that in.
Thank you for that.
Because you told me earlier that it was taking too long.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't mind. People say they like their long podcast, don't they? But we do have this cake we need to make. So Evelyn served him with a letter by the end of Monday's episode, and Steve takes it to Weatherfield's new hotshot lawyer Alia to check it out, and she's like,
"Well, he says, look,
is this
Evelyn's solicitor has written this to me. Can you read it?"
Yeah, and she says, "Well, it looks pretty legit to me."
Is this what happened?
Yeah, I think you're probably better off if you just pay Evelyn for the backgammon set and then it's all over. So Steve goes to the cafe, gives Evelyn a wad of cash, and she says, "Here you go, there's a bit extra in there as well. And there's enough of the backgammon, and I hope it pays for whatever fancy pants solicitor."
He doesn't give her extra.
Oh no, he gives her more than the backgammon set is worth, doesn't he? because the
says
letter
it's
was
emotional
demanding
damage.
£325. Yeah, she says it's emotional damage. He thinks it's for a fancy pants solicitor, but it turns out that Evelyn wrote the letter herself. And tell you what, it doesn't take much to impress Alia, does it? Because just from being able to write a letter that sounds a bit lawyerish, Alia's like, well, I'm convinced. Take the bar exam. You're going to be the new chief prosecutor of UK. Is that a job? I've just made it up. So
basically, the trajectory of a hotshot lawyer in this country is you end up as the Prime Minister.
oh yes, well, Evelyn for PM. Yes,
and in this
please.
country, we let women do what they like. So she could, females, no barrier whatsoever.
Can you imagine Maureen Lipman at number 10?
Wasn't she the Prime Minister in a Doctor Who? Or was she just a scientist? She definitely had glasses on.
Evelyn, she was an evil space TV alien in Doctor Who. Maureen
It's
Lipman
really
was.
hard to tell the difference between the Prime Minister and an evil space alien.
She basically, Evelyn has a little chat with Alia in the the cafe later, and she's like, "Oh, I've never mentioned this before in the 6 years that I've been on the show, but actually, it's been my dream." To be a lawyer.
I've always had an interest.
She doesn't say that, but in as many words, it's one of these, like with, who was it? Was it Sinead and her soaps? She decided that she'd been wanting to do that all along. But yeah, she's always had an interest in law, but she never had a chance to go into further education. I thought this was a really good scene because we also get to learn a little bit about Roy and why he didn't go into higher education, didn't we? And he talked about the fact that because of his lack of social skills, he always found school and the prospect of university something pretty terrifying for him. And I'd never
To be fair, when he was younger and he's first in the show, he was a bit of a weird pervert, so he shouldn't have gone to university because he would have spent his whole time stealing knickers.
Yeah, that's true. But as a learned man, a man of books, I think it'd be fair to assume that maybe he'd gone to university, but this was a lovely little bit of character development here.
I do assume that most working class people of a certain age have not had the chance to go to university.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Because
is true.
your parents did, but my parents did not.
Yeah, these days everyone's got a degree.
I was the first person, like many people, working class people, of my generation, I was the first one in the family to get to go to university.
Yeah, well, my dad went to university but dropped out after a year. But he still went there at least, and that counts for something.
You got a chance.
Evelyn talks about the fact that did she say she passed her 11 plus, but her dad didn't let her go because he didn't want her snobbing around at some fancy pants grammar school.
Got a really similar story because she was the oldest of many, many children. I think there were like 11 or something. And she couldn't go to, she wanted to be a hairdresser and she wasn't allowed because she had to raise the children because she was the oldest girl.
Yeah, Evelyn talked about the fact that she ended up going to the comp, didn't she?
She basically said, I learned how to be a wife.
Yeah. So I thought that was definitely
this was a really lovely
bit
of social history.
It was. I appreciated it. End of the episode, Roy brings Evelyn a big old legal book to peruse.
It's
probably the same one that Adam gave Alia as a going away to Ireland present.
Should have just bought her the big bumper book of hilarious, obscure British laws, because that's what she does with it.
Yeah, finding out on that. She does a bit of studying on it on Friday, doesn't she? Speaking of which, I loved Cassie's attempt. Well, it was a bit... Yeah, Cassie says, I'm sure there's an ancient law that says mothers should be giving daughters chocky bickies whenever they buy something at their shop. And then Alia says, I think that's fraud.
Well, no, because Evelyn's saying, is this coercion?
Oh, yeah, is it coercion
incitement?
or is it... Yeah.
And then Alia says, I think it's just fraud.
I don't know, says Alia. Maybe just fraud, you're right. And then she invites her to come along to a law lecture with her.
Oh, Alia's such a dip.
I mean, she is new. There's probably not been many cases of people pretending to make chocolate biscuit laws. But she was supposed to be a
hotshot, amazing new talent, just like Dee-Dee was. But somehow she's had a lobotomy and she's fully praising Evelyn for impersonating a solicitor.
Oh, did we even mention that earlier? I think I accidentally skipped over.
I made sure to say that she wrote it herself.
Sorry, this is what really got your back up on Wednesday, didn't it?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over that at all. Gemma was incensed.
Alia's like, oh, Evelyn, you're so good at writing fake legal letters. That's amazing. You're really talented. What she should have said was, Evelyn, this is actually a criminal offence. You could go to prison for impersonating a solicitor. It's actually super serious.
Yeah, I didn't disbelieve you in this, but
you did double check.
I did double check, and it is absolutely not legal to impersonate a lawyer. I'm just trying to find...
The only reason I know this is because on Reddit every so often, in the legal subreddits, because I like following drama, that's why I watch Coronation
Love
Street.
a bit of drama.
Every so often there will be somebody who says, my neighbour's written me a blah blah blah, and people will always say in the comments, double check the solicitor's name and make sure they're a real solicitor, because if your neighbour's pretending and made up a firm, or even worse, using the name of a solicitor and pretending to be them, they can be in absolute terrible trouble, and it doesn't even matter the issue that you're talking about, because it's all irrelevant compared to the offence of impersonating a solicitor.
Yeah, I actually... But the thing is, with all of this, and I'm not saying that Evelyn is really up to date with all the latest technology, but if she knew about ChatGPT, she probably could have made it pretty quickly. I mean, we have just had this, as we were saying earlier, big updates to the iOS system this week, which integrated ChatGPT with the iOS system. So maybe Evelyn is a secret iPhone lover, and she just got it to do it herself.
Maybe she's AI. I mean, she's an evil space alien.
Yeah, I actually got ChatGPT to write a letter about this myself, which goes... Let me read it. I'm writing to seek reimbursement for damage caused to my personal property. On this date, you spilled a pint of beer over my backgammon set, causing significant damage. The set, which is of high quality, is now unusable. I have obtained a valuation which places the cost of repair or replacement at £325. Despite my efforts to resolve this matter informally, I have yet to receive the payment or any offer of compensation. I'm therefore requesting that you pay me the sum of 325 days within 14 days of the date of this letter. If payment is not received within this time frame, I will have no choice but to consider further action, which may include making a claim through the small claims court. So it's fairly easy to do, but you know, Alia is clearly very easily impressed, and she's there inviting her to lawyer talks on Friday.
That's what annoyed me. If there had just been one line where she went, although it's super illegal to do that, I'm still impressed. All they had to do is that, because it just makes Alia look like she doesn't know what she's talking about, which then undermines her confidence in Evelyn, because it's like the blind leading the blind. Like, okay, maybe Alia is impressed, but that doesn't tell me anything about how good Evelyn actually is at law, because Alia is stupid and she doesn't understand the most basic thing about being a solicitor.
Yes. Apparently, I think I said, I asked ChatGPT this as well. Apparently there's a Solicitors Act in 1974, and if you impersonate a lawyer, you're potentially breaching that. Penalties can include fines and even, in extreme cases, imprisonment. So watch your back, Evelyn. And she does it again on Friday. She takes somebody else's badge.
She's a renegade.
Yeah. They go to this lawyer talk, which of course happens to be at Chariot Square.
Lawyer talk.
Exactly. That's
a podcast about lawyers. Welcome to
boring,
Lawyer Talk.
Very dull. Anyway, they get there. Evelyn's not allowed in because the guest list's full, but she takes someone else's badge, and to cut a long story short, that person turns up and says,
now you're cutting a long story short.
Yeah, yes I am.
Oi, that's my name.
Stop making a dig. Yeah, it was a bit silly, but it was a lot of fun. They probably could have strung it out over a few more scenes.
You said it would have been funny if her badge name had been called up to do a speech.
Oh yes, I did think that. I thought that that's where they were going with it. That she was this great. Marjorie that she was impersonating was actually the main speaker. And I bet. Do you think that I reckon Evelyn probably could have gone up and ad-libbed something half decent? I mean, if Alia can be fooled by this fake letter, then surely a room full of lawyers could be impressed by it, or won over by it. Well,
she overhears an arrogant lawyer saying that he bends the rules to get his clients off, whether they're guilty or not.
And everyone else thinks he's hilarious, apart from upstanding citizens Evelyn and Alia.
Evelyn only likes breaking laws when she's doing it.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was weird is that all their badges had Miss or Mr. or Mrs. on it. Why do you need to know? I think we should abolish
it's professional,
those.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but none of them had
Well, another good reason to move to France. They don't have Mademoiselle anymore.
Good. When I heard they did that, I was very proud of them.
Well, très fier. So that's basically at the end of the episode, isn't it? They go to the cafe and
she's going to be a lawyer.
No, well, she says that she's not going to be a lawyer.
She's going to take a law course.
Oh, I thought that she wasn't going to.
And Cassie goes,
No, Roy asks her if she's going to take a law
Cassie
course.
laughs at her.
Cassie thinks it's hilarious. And she even says, no, I'm not. But she's going to, isn't she? She's going to take a law course.
Good for her. Single female lawyer.
Yeah. You go, Evelyn.
Just like, what's her face?
Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal.
Sorry for that massive pause,
And
but
what's
I
her
was casting my mind back 20 years.
Evelyn Plummer, Ally McBeal, can't put them side by side, make them swap around, wouldn't know which one was which.
You'd never have...
That's why you have to wear a name badge.
You'd never have had this in your crystal ball for the 2024 predictions, would you? I think by the end of the year, Evelyn is going to be studying to become a lawyer, yeah. Fair play to her.
Right, Friday.
Another stab.
Dylan's got a
he's
knife
got a
in his bag.
That's that story.
That not have that.
Why would he even do this? He's literally seen Mason go to prison for having a zombie knife. I know that he was threatening with it as well.
Mason finds this because it could be just for reasons, okay? And then he says, I'm worried about it. And Dylan says, don't worry, I've handed the knife in. But really, he's got his fingers crossed and he's shaking his head.
Yeah, I think he has not handed that knife, and I think he's got it stashed somewhere that could be a bit painful, considering the size of the blade. But look for more on exciting knife action in next week's Corrie, I am sure. Right, we have reached the end of Street Talk. That was a fairly lengthy one again. Last week's was quite long as well. This is what happens when you make good Coronation Street. We want to talk about it more. It's easy, isn't it, Corrie?
We talk about a lot of things.
We've gone off. We do. But we went off on a tangent a few times. Go. But
what's that?
It was a good week. Who's your character of the week? You got a good few options here, haven't you? You got your Shona, you got your Gail, David. Audrey was very great. You got Kit, you got Daisy, Daniel. Lots of big names this week. And Evelyn, of course, who's always a good one. But she has had quite a lot of character of the week.
Eileen was funny.
Yeah, not enough to be character of the week. I'm gonna do Shona just because I love her.
Yeah, Shona because she had a hurty arm. Although I cannot believe that she threw out clothes just because they had a hole in them when that's her thing.
Oh yeah, she also said, I think we skipped over this. She said to David, because he asks her about the why'd you throw your jacket in the bin? She says that when the jacket was hung on the banister and when she fell down the stairs, she grabbed hold of it and ripped it or something like that anyway. No, I don't want to give it to Shona because she went back to Kit.
I don't care.
And I think that was a bad move.
It's fine. It adds drama. I'm going to give this...
No.
Go on then. You're thinking. I know what I'm going to say.
I'm going to give it to Daisy this week because she risked a lot to protect her wonderful, handsome Prince Daniel, who I think should absolutely get back together with her. I think that Daisy was great this week, so there you go.
I'm going to give this week 4 tattoos of a sea lion on Jesse's bum.
I'm going to give it a 4 this week. I'm going to give this one 4 mares of high dudgeon out of 5. Good job, Coronation Street. Let's have more of this, please.